You said that you love winning. What drives you more, the love of winning or the hate of losing?
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning.
Say his name and he appears.
This is a friendship that'll never ever end.
Greetings and welcome to Winning 2024 Friday edition. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're all doing and living well on this very special, rare Friday broadcast. Hope everybody found it well and fit it into your routine. Let me start by thanking each and every one of you Winner Circle members out there. You know who you are. You're scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and a special thanks to Shelly and Wolfram, who support us over on Rumble as well. We are broadcasting live on Rumble and YouTube tonight, and the show will get backed up to BitChute. I figured that part out, so I probably won't do live there too often, unless it's going to be one of those that I jump over to Rumble on. So there you go. That's how that's going to work. Thank you for being here, and remember, you're part of the solution. And be sure to let me know what you think in the chat and in the comments. And hey, look. If you wanna, if you dig it, if you like coming here and hanging out and supporting the channel, you can always join the Winner Circle. Love to have you, and you'll get your special little intro when you do. So, would love to use that more often. So good to see you guys, man. And thanks again for being here. Tonight we're going to take a look at a deeper dive into the deportation and some of the obstruction that's going on and some of the counters to that obstruction. Hey, Flatty, how you doing? Welcome. Oh, look at your avatar. Merry Christmas. Jingle balls. All right. And we're also going to take a look at... Hold on a second. Okay. I don't know. Okay. We're also going to take a look at CIA PsyOp. A very interesting gentleman did a report on this, and I want to cover it and analyze it with you. This is kind of a deep dive into some of the different areas we haven't thought about before. So he is a former. He grew up in tyranny, and he's got a good handle on how these kind of things work. And so we'll take a look at that tonight. These will be our two features this evening, as well as some other stuff from the wild world that we live in, including a look at some stuff in the Jeff Bezos trying to think he's going to talk Trump into trusting the mainstream media. That's pretty funny. And Kash Patel warning the media to shut it or look out. Also, we're going to kind of recap a little bit of the Doge meeting that went on in Washington recently, just a few experts from that, and other things, including a short bit at the Capitol that's been going on, as well as the Supreme Court is ruling on the trans issue. So that and much more. And in case you're wondering how you would, everybody has an idea of what winning reality is all about. But here's one person's take.
What is winning reality? This sounds like some sort of self-help thing. Do you know what? You are perfect. You are brilliant. You are better than you think you are. And you come out of the room going, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. You are winning reality. Yeah, I am. Come on. Come on. Take on the world. That's what winning reality conjures up in my mind.
Yeah, and and it's true. It is true. It is true. taking our reality back from those who want to take it and turn it into something terrible. And that's what we fight against every episode here by learning how the game's been rigged and working towards solutions to unrig the game. That's how we win reality, removing the enablement of corruption. And that's the kind of stuff we cover here. So I hope you will subscribe, like, share, and join and be part of the solution. Love to have you. And for all those loyal members out there, thank you so much. Let me say hello to all those loyal members right now. I totally skipped that part, didn't I? Heidi, what's up? How you doing? Good to see you and welcome to the show. Wolfram, thank you, my friend, for dropping these links. I appreciate it. I don't see my my listen to the wolf post, so I'll just say always remember to listen to the wolf when you are here. And he wipes his paws, he lopes in and out. And the alpha mod is in the house, y'all. All right. Off we go. Is it cold where you're at? How cold is it where you're at? Let me know in the chat there. Let me see, where is it? It's like 35 degrees here. 35. It's been feeling like winter. It's feeling like Christmas. You guys getting all your Christmas shopping done? I hope so. I've gotten lots of it done. I think I'm done. I got it all done. I think I'm good. Now it just comes down 25 for Wolfram. 25 so far. Wolfram has the lowest temperature so far. If you'd like to have the lower temperature, just let me know in the chat. Did you like that? Yeah. I was over on Wrestling Days' channel earlier, and he was talking about members. And I've actually been a member of his channel for 3 years, 3 months, and 9 days. I didn't realize it, but I'm a member on my other, like my original account. I don't even use it, but this is my branded account. That's why I never get gifted memberships on this one. So I had to send him a super chat to let him know, because I was like, oh yeah, well, this is my branded account. I think I've technically actually been a member of his channel longer than I've been winning reality. So that's crazy. At least the avatar known as. Let me cue up our first thing tonight here. I'll get y'all get ready to get going here within the first 10 minutes of the show. We get going on the topics. That seems to be about right. Sometimes we go a little bit longer. I went back and forth between which one to cover first. But I think that this is a very in-depth kind of deep dive on the deportation plan, and also this goes into a lot of what we've already known. Like, we've been way ahead on the curve here, in terms of what the deep state's up to, right? Because we got good sources. And what I do here really is I go out and find the best based information out there, and I put together a show for you guys where we look at it together, we analyze it, things you might not find, but also I give my takes on it. I give the extra education, the extra deep dive research that I've been doing for almost 2 decades now on these topics, and the drive to fix it. What in the world did you say? 9 degrees Celsius? Oh, okay, that's 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Gotcha. 9 degrees sounds really cold. Throw the Celsius in there. Like, okay, that means something else. 29. It feels like 20 where Heidi is, and Northwest Ohio. Yep. And it looks like we got to do a fun Friday super chat. All right. Talking Trash the Truth's $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. It's 21 here right now. Real feel is up to 20 now. That was 10 earlier. Welcome to Western Pennsylvania. Count, how you doing? Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for being here. He's got his popcorn and he'll be watching along. And there's Cool Gamer. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the channel as well. Also, all these great members here tonight. Thank you guys so much. Just in time. Yes, you are. Great timing, Count. Great timing indeed. So I'm still kind of flipping a coin about which way to go, but we've been ahead of the game knowing what the plans for the deep state are, because we watched and carefully understood the interview with J. Michael Waller and Tucker Carlson, where he laid it all out. And so we were like, yep, we got that way early. And we were like, we're going to be watching for these things, right? And sure enough, as it was a contingency plan, if Trump got elected, what they would do. And we're already starting to see that contingency plan snap into action, knowing ahead of time. One, you know, that's great for us because we're more informed and we know what to look for. But two, hopefully, people in the Trump administration and are ahead of that too. So hopefully, they are ready to figure out what's going on. And I would think that that information could get to them, if not by J. Michael Waller, via Tucker Carlson too. If he remembers, if he remembered to tell him, oh, by the way, I interviewed this really interesting guy, and he said you might want to look out for these things. But I think from what I'm hearing in this report about the deportation plans, they seem to be ahead of this a little bit. So that's another reason why I wanted to go through this tonight. This guy, by the way, who we're going to watch this with, is very much on the money. It's from Epoch Times. His name is Roman Balmakov. I think I said that completely wrong, but it's close enough. Roman. And this guy does great work. I mean, it's one of those channels that maybe people haven't heard about, but he is with the Epoch Times, and he does a phenomenal work. He really does. I mean, if you like concise, really well researched, based information, this dude does great work. So we're going to start out with that, and then we're going to go over to this other very interesting story about CIA PsyOps. And this is going to go into areas, I'm telling you, you probably haven't thought of yet. When I watched this, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Yeah, you like Roman? Yeah, Roman's awesome. He is awesome. He's really good. So we're going to enjoy this report. It just came out, so it's brand new. Trump unveils the biggest deportation plan in U.S. history, and it's very, very thorough. But also the next story is going to be about the CIA PsyOps, and like I said, it's going to go into areas you didn't think of. You remember how everybody's worried about what they say online? Well, this is going to make you even more worried about it. Well, no, in a way, it's going to kind of like go to where that place is, like. You know how they keep track of people that do certain things, like, oh, they're keeping track of us. Well, this is kind of like going to touch on some of that, but and even more. But I think it's very interesting, and we'll have a good time with it tonight. And then we'll touch on some other topics after that, some quick hits on different things that are going on. I have another. Where's my other browser at? I did have some grounded news here. Ground news. And some of the headlines for that is Trump urges judge to toss hush money case, citing Hunter Biden pardon. Killer of United Healthcare. Well, yeah, I just wanted to say, he wrote deny, defend, and depose on the bullet casings. I think I had that from a few days ago and just didn't get to it. I don't want to go too deeply into that because I'm hearing rumblings across the creator from other creators that some of these too much of that is getting your videos demonetized or throttled or whatever. So whatever. You know what my thought on that is like, murder's wrong. But this is kind of one of those things where I'm kind of like, I kind of see like this. I don't think it's anything nefarious other than someone probably just got turned down and maybe it cost them a loved one and they were like, screw it, and this company is going to expose maybe a lot of things about this company. It may turn out to be a situation. This is what I'll say about it. It may turn out to be a situation where this act actually causes other things to happen. And it's not the right way to go about things at all, but it may cause people to take a harder look at what's going on with insurance companies and who they're giving payments out to and who they're not. And I don't think that I hope that this isn't a trend, but I think that it may actually incidentally do what the guy intended for it to do. So that's just for me looking at it. I've listened to a few other sources on it. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to deep dive on it. Other people are talking about it, but I just would say that my take on it is that it may expose some things and the wrong way to do it. But sometimes it's just that, But I got some other stuff there too for cabinet watch and so on. So without further ado, 15 minutes on. Hey, Lamb's Grace, how you doing? Good to see you. How you been? You keeping warm? I hope you're keeping warm wherever you are. Maybe you're in a very warm place already. Could be. You're just in time though. We're getting ready to do our first feature of the evening. Trump unveils the biggest deportation plan in U.S. history. This is a deeper dive than we've taken so far with Roman from Epoch Times. And we're going to get into it right now. Let's go.
What might begin to unfold in this country is, for lack of a better word, unprecedented. After years of record-breaking illegal immigration, well, you have the incoming Trump administration very serious about deporting millions, or perhaps even tens of millions of people from the interior of the United States. Not from the border regions, but rather from local neighborhoods throughout the whole country. And so,
yeah, this is the kind of thing we've been talking about. You're in Texas? All right, cool. You're good. All right. Nice.
If you just logically think about that, well, the number of raids, roundups, fights with police, manhunts, detention centers, government buses, chartered flights, and everything else involved in an operation like this is going to be huge. Even just the sheer amount of cell phone video footage that will likely be floating around the internet, as you literally have 1 million people per year at a minimum getting dragged away and deported, well, it's going to be voluminous. This really...
Yeah, and we've been talking about this too. We've been talking about the voluminosity of this and how he needs to be handled, and that to expect the optics to be abused by the establishment in order to generate and manufacture sympathy and consent to resist the deportations, even though these people are here illegally. So, and in many cases, criminals. I don't think they'll fight the criminals going out too bad, but they're going to fight the rest of it. Even though, and as we'll talk about later in the video, even though coming in illegally is a crime and does make you a criminal.
They might become the single biggest news topic over the next year, if not the next 2 years.
Yeah.
However, that's only if Trump can actually institute his deportation plan. Because despite a strong electoral mandate, which includes winning the popular vote, the electoral college vote, as well as winning a Republican majority in both chambers of Congress, well...
Yeah, and there you go. You see why the popular vote was so important. And for all you that went out and voted in blue states, including myself, cheers to me too. Well, in a blue area, in a solid blue area, where you didn't feel like your vote was going to mean anything, but you did it anyways. And that you didn't veer off the course. You didn't go throw it out right in somebody or go third party to make a point or something like that. The popular vote really matters. And this is one of the cases where it's really going to shine through. So thank you for that.
Trump will actually still have an uphill battle to implement his agenda. In fact, there are forces already, right now, gathering their strength in order to push back against them come January. And so today, let's go through what those forces are, as well as the general challenges that Trump will face in his effort to deport potentially tens of millions of people. To start with, right now, right this very minute, as you're watching this episode, there is a large caravan of migrants, potentially the last of its kind, making its way through Mexico, heading to the U.S. border, hoping to make it there before Trump re-enters the White House come January. And the reason that this migrant caravan is racing against the clock is because they all know that once Trump is back in office, migration policies in the U.S. will change dramatically. And they are correct in thinking that. President Trump has already confirmed that he has full intentions to reinstate most of the border-related executive orders from his first term. And just for your reference, here's a short list of what that actually means, meaning what border policies are about to get reimplemented. The ending of temporary protected status for residents of Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Deactivating the Customs and Border Protection One app, which has been used by migrants to set up asylum appointments remotely using their phones.
Right, and they just actually tried to they're rolling it out right now. I mean, the nerve of these people to try to get them to bypass their meeting point now. So yeah, now you can just bypass it. It's even more efficient.
entry into the U.S. from citizens of certain countries, including Muslim majority countries, continuing the construction of a border wall, ending birthright citizenship, re-implementing Title 42, which restricts migrants from being able to enter the U.S. if that migrant is suspected of carrying a harmful disease, undoing the restrictions on immigration officials that were imposed.
They got rid of Title 42. Oh no, if you have a dangerous disease, come on in. It's good for us.
In a 2021 memo from Alejandro Mayorkas. And just for reference, that particular memo, it complicated ICE's ability to deport people who threaten either national security and or public safety. Trump said he's also willing to implement restrictive visa policies and or even enact tariffs on any country that's unwilling to take back their immigrants. And then lastly, on top of all that, Trump will restore the Remain in Mexico program. That's the policy that requires asylum seekers to stay in Mexico until their case is processed by a U.S. immigration court. And so these 9 different policies, they will make it significantly harder for migrants to be able to just sneak into the U.S. and then get bussed into the interior of the country. However, aside from these 9 different policies aimed at keeping people from jumping the border, well, there's a much bigger plan in the works to remove the illegal migrants who are already here. In fact, no other aspect of Trump's proposed border policy has sparked more media backlash and media coverage than his plan to what he calls enact the biggest deportation in history.
And believe me, it is going to be a psyop unto itself. They're going to try to pull at the heartstrings of all those people that are already freaking out, and activate them to obstruct and in every way possible. So get ready for that. We got to hope that this is going to be well organized and outside of their reach. That's what we're hoping for right here on that.
In fact, Trump himself describing this effort on the campaign trail.
We're taking in people from prisons. We're taking in people from mental institutions. We're taking in murderers and drug lords. We're taking in people that are very, very sick with diseases that will be spread all over our nation.
Right.
We're doing the wrong thing for our country. It's going to be very hard to recover from that, but we're going to start on day one with deportation.
Trump then
right. Definitely. You know, you guys noticed that ever since Trump got elected, though, he's been chilling. He's like, he's gathering up his energy, getting ready to come in charging like a bull. Right. But he's been, I think maybe intentionally kind of out of the spotlight for a minute, which is a good thing. I'm happy. I hope he gets rested up, and I hope that as he's busy putting things together, he's going to come in like he's done all the in front of the scene work. Right now, it's doing the behind the scene work, and then he'll be back in front of us again before too long, before we even can turn around. But yeah, they're right now he's back there just making it all happen, man. He's just doing what he does, and hopefully getting some much needed rest for a long run here.
Actually reconfirmed his commitment to this deportation plan just 1 week before the actual election day, when he wrote the following over on Truth Social. Quote, "The United States is now an occupied country, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. On day 1, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history." And indeed, after winning the election, President Trump appears to be completely serious about implementing this large-scale deportation effort. To that end, one of the very first personnel assignments that he made after getting elected was to assign the former acting director of ICE, Mr. Tom Homan, as the new Trump administration border czar. And if you happen to be unfamiliar with Mr. Tom Homan, well, we put together a short montage of exchanges between him and lawmakers that will give you a bit of a taste of the kind of energy that the man is bringing to the job as the new border czar in charge of America's deportation effort. Take a listen.
I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds and I yield to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Holman, please respect the.
Look at this, man. This woman, he barely got talking. He barely started talking, and she already tried to cut him off. Like, that's not completely transparent what you're doing there. Obstructing.
Chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair.
Mr. Holman,
you work for me. I'm a taxpayer.
Look at those bug eyes. This is the thing.
I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
Absolutely. If I can respond to the earlier remark from Wasserman Schultz, I forgot more about this issue than you ever know. So if you say my testimony is inaccurate,
it's always good.
Everything I said here is
accurate. Always good to watch.
Bottom line, if you want to go toe to toe, I'm here. I'm here in my own time to speak to the American people about what's false.
I'm sure happy to go toe to toe with you, Mr. Holman.
Well,
Happy
I'm
to do
here
that any day.
But you got to let me respond to your question rather than
I didn't
dropping a
ask you a
bomb and
question.
running away.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation,
I recommend a zero tolerance.
which includes
Right.
family separation.
The same as this with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as a
hurting our
policy
head.
that separated children
hurting
from
your
their
If I get
brain.
arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman, with all
family.
due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
But they
When
committed
you
a
enter the
crime.
country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go to the port of entry, do it the legal way.
Right.
The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
And as you likely guessed by those clips, Tom Homan's, you can say, no-nonsense attitude has made him rather respected among the rank and file. In fact, to that end, on the very morning that Trump made the announcement regarding the border czar position, Tom Homan, he had an appearance over on Fox and Friends wherein he said that he literally had to turn his cell phone off for 3 days prior to the announcement because it was just blowing up. He was getting flooded with thousands of messages and calls from both Border Patrol agents as well as ICE agents who were just excited about the prospect of his return. He also said during that interview that he received thousands of messages from retired as well as former agents who are looking to get back into active service in order to help with the general deportation effort. Take a listen.
Yeah, you know what? And this makes a good point that there's going to be employment opportunities for this endeavor. And he's going to get into that a little bit more here too.
Look, I shut my phone off Friday night because I couldn't handle the phone calls and texts and emails from thousands of ICE agents and Border Patrol agents excited about the rumor I'm coming back. But more importantly, that thousands of retired agents, retired Border Patrol agents, retired military that want to come in and volunteer to help this president secure the border and do the deportation operation. So I've been off the grid for 3 days just because I couldn't handle all the phone calls. And plus,
You're absolutely breaking the law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking the law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail because there's a statute. It's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III. What it says is it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. There's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear. We want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
And his comments right there actually touch on the very first challenge that Trump's team will face when trying to implement their agenda. Because deporting that many people in such a short span of time will require a lot of manpower that is currently just not there. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment, I'd love to introduce today's sponsor, which is My Patriot Supply.
You know about these
If you watched my earlier several episodes regarding survival kits that you should have in your home, well, I would highly recommend My Patriot Supply. Last year, for fiscal year 2024, it showed that that's the time to be preparing. So again, that's preparewithroman.com. Get your 4-week emergency food kit today and tell them that Roman sent you. According to a fiscal report that you can see up on your screen, published by the Department of Homeland Security last year for fiscal year 2024, it showed that ICE has only about 21,000 employees. And out of those, 7,000 are agents. And there is literally no way that you can have 7,000 agents deport millions or tens of millions of people. Therefore, Trump is now floating the idea of using the military to fast track the operation. To that end, on November 18th of this year, you had Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch post the following message on Truth Social, which said something to the effect of the Trump administration is gearing up to declare a national emergency and use military assets to assist their mass deportation program. And to that message, President Trump responded by simply saying, true. Now, by itself, if that was the full story, that would likely be illegal. The Posse Comitatus Act prevents federal, meaning military assets, from participating in law enforcement activities unless expressly authorized by Congress to do so. The idea behind that particular law is to prevent military interference in civilian affairs. However, there are some important exceptions to that law. The first one, ironically, you can say, is the Insurrection Act. Originally enacted in the year 1792, that law grants the president the authority to deploy U.S. military domestically and to use it against American citizens under certain conditions that Trump can claim are currently in play. It's only been used a handful of times in U.S. history, by Lincoln during the Civil War, by both Eisenhower as well as Kennedy during desegregation, as well as by George H.W. Bush during the L.A. riots. So that is one potential route that Trump could take.
Okay, well, see, there's precedent for it. Exactly. Roscoe Tree, MCR, music tech, DJ services owner, showstopper. Awesome, dude. Are you going to see Sasquatch? She's on tour. That's we did a stream on with him the other night. It was pretty cool.
The other option, and something that Trump has alluded to on numerous occasions, is the invocation of something known as the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That law allows the sitting president of the US to deport anyone who's not a US citizen if that person happens to be from a country with which either there is a declared war or a threatened or attempted invasion or predatory incursion. And Trump has said in past statements that he will use that law to initiate a federal effort called Operation Aurora to target undocumented migrant gang members. And just for your reference, Aurora in Operation Aurora is a reference to that town over in Colorado where you had entire apartment complexes get taken over by Venezuelan gangs.
Right? Yeah. We haven't heard much about that lately. Last time I heard they were in Tennessee. But I'm hoping that they're getting stopped as soon as they're getting started.
Regardless, though, if Trump were to either invoke this law or the other one and get the military involved, you can expect two things. Firstly, is immediate legal pushback. NGOs would immediately file lawsuits arguing that a migrant incursion does not amount to foreign aggression. And then secondly, the legacy media will plaster the optics of the military being used in America against its own people on every single front page and on every single TV news station. You might
This is what we were talking about a couple weeks back when we were talking about this. People were discussing the whole use the military, how would they use the military, and so on. And we were kind of breaking it down ourselves, and we were watching the idiots on mainstream media. I think it was MSNBC or some awful channel. Talk about how they couldn't figure it out, right? It's like, no, we could actually sit here, the group of us together could sit here and figure out how to use it the right way, right? But we also talked about how we don't want to use it the wrong way because of the optics and, the propaganda war, the subversion that the mainstream media will employ in order to activate and manipulate and activate people and manufacture their consent.
You might remember that famous image from the year 2000 when you had a little Cuban boy named Elian Gonzalez being captured by federal agents at gunpoint in Miami while he's trying to hide in a closet. That was just one boy, one raid, and one photo. Just imagine how many such photos will emerge if this type of thing is happening across the whole country against millions of people every single year. It might actually be
I'm glad he's pointing this out. I'm really glad he's pointing it out. It's something we have to think about.
To turn public sentiment against the mass deportation effort, which is exactly why you have some policy experts suggesting that if the military is to be used, it should serve in a supporting role in terms of logistics and administration rather than actual boots in the ground. For instance, you had a recent interview over on CBS News wherein Mr. Joseph Nunn, who is a national security lawyer over at the left-leaning Brennan Center for Justice, say the following, quote, "Suppose you want to set up a checkpoint on a highway in Texas or Arizona. Under normal circumstances, you need 5 Customs and Border Protection agents to run a checkpoint. If you have access to military personnel, you can run a checkpoint with 1 CBP agent assisted by 4 soldiers. Then suddenly, 5 CBP agents assisted by soldiers can run 5 checkpoints instead of 1.
What's up, T-Rex?
And so that's one idea. Another was floated by Mr. Tom Homan.
It was T-Rex all
in order
along.
to address the personnel shortage, he will not only work to rehire retired ICE and Border Patrol agents, but also to hire outside contractors to handle things like transportation, as well as setting up tent detention facilities." Take a listen.
There you go. See, we're talking about this. Like they got an organized, reasonable plan put together. And, there's going to be employment opportunities for people who want to help with the problem. And I bet you there'll be no shortage of people who want to help solve the problem here. There's also, I heard about, I don't think he mentions this, so I'll talk about it right now, like a bounty hunter kind of like program where if you can help identify illegal aliens and I guess, and they actually do get deported, you get like $1,000. So tell me that that's not going to help with the problem at all. People will find, hey, look, it's like this, right? There's a whole racket built up, as it was shown in the documentary Line in the Sand. We showed it. We showed it here. We've gotten millions of people past the paywall to see it. No, millions, thousands of people past the paywall to see it. And a very important documentary, and it lays out the money going behind trafficking these children into our country and how much money is being made, and that they've hired drivers, they've hired people to house them, they've hired all kinds of people and paid them like hundreds of thousands of dollars to be part of this scam, be part of this abuse of children from other countries. and so this is the inverse now this is the opposite, equal and opposite reaction, where people can make a good salary helping do something that's overt and correct and right, and correcting this problem, being part of the solution, and helping move the people that came here illegally, that were coerced in here or did it on purpose or whatever, did it with a bad intention. There are plenty of those, and plenty of people who just were coerced and talked into it, and maybe some that were even forced, and we could help facilitate getting them back to where they came from.
But my plan is, and I've been very vocal about this, we're going to contract as much work out as we can. Work that doesn't require a badge and a gun, because I need badges and guns on the street to do the deportation operation. So when it comes to driving bus transportation, whether it's ground or air, whether it's processing, whether it's some other administrative duties, contract that work out. So right now we got badges and guns doing that work. Get them out of that administrative work, put more on the street, and that's what we're going to do.
Now, aside from Mr. Tom Homan, another indication that President Trump is rather serious when it comes to implementing this deportation agenda is his choice of Mr. Stephen Miller as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. In case you're not aware, Stephen Miller was essentially the architect for most of Trump's immigration policies during his first term in office. And in terms of the second term, well, here's what Stephen Miller said while speaking at this year's CPAC on that very topic.
You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement.
They got it.
You also deploy the military to the southern border, not just with a mission to observe, but with an impedance and denial mission. In other words, you reassert the fundamental constitutional principle that you don't have a right to enter into our sovereign territory, to even request the asylum claim. The military has the right to establish a fortress position on the border and to say no one can cross here at all.
Yes. And so you can see President Trump appears to be hiring like-minded people to enact this deportation agenda. And this agenda currently appears to enjoy majority support from Americans, at least according to recent polls. And perhaps surprisingly, this support appears to cut across party lines. For instance, in September, Ipsos conducted a poll of over 1,000 Americans representing the general population. And this poll found that more than half of all Americans, including a quarter of Democrats, support the mass deportation of immigrants who are living in the country illegally. And then more recently, after Trump's election victory, CBS conducted a poll of their own, and they found that 57% of all Americans are still in favor of mass deportation, compared to 43% who are against it. And so again, it appears that at this very moment, public sentiment is on his side. But with all that said, one of the big lingering questions is how many people will actually get deported under Trump's second term? And the answer to that is not exactly clear. It's a bit open to interpretation. In May, during an interview with Time magazine, President Trump floated the idea of having quite literally 15 to 20 million illegal migrants get deported. But then in August, when J.D. Vance was pressed on the logistics of deporting so many people over on ABC News, well, he said the following.
You are going to have to deport some people. Let's start with 1 million, then we can go from
there. And interestingly, ever since they actually won the election, neither Trump, Vance, or anyone else on their team has yet to state an official number in terms of the number of illegal migrants that they'd like to see deported. Maybe they're still working out the details in the back end, or perhaps the ambiguity is an actual strategy in and of itself to keep the illegal migrants in the country a bit uneasy in this interim period. Regardless, what you might find particularly interesting about this whole...
I mean, sometimes when I'm right in the middle of these things like this, and they show pictures like that, I'm like, I can't believe we're actually dealing with this. I do that on several different issues. Sometimes it just jumps into my head. I can't believe we're actually dealing with this. I can't believe someone's actually done this to our country, and we're having to sit here and talk about it. It's like that, and the whole trans thing and everything else like that. We've gotten to this point, right? We're so ready to make it. These are things that were talked about when we were growing up. These are things that are issues that we had to deal with. And between the time that we were young and the time that we've grown in our lives, people have created these issues. They've created these crises in our country where they didn't need to be. So that's something I always kind of remember when I'm going through these stories with everybody. And like when it jumps out at me, I tend to come on out and mention it, because I'm like, do you guys do the same thing? Do you do the same thing? Like when you're just like, oh, you're watching this, you're like, I can't even believe we're dealing with this shit. Like, does it ever just pop in your head and you're like, well, what the hell? Everything was going fine. Why did it have to get to this, right?
Mass deportation plan is that despite Trump's rhetoric about illegal immigration, he isn't actually the president with the most deportations under his watch. That honor falls on Barack Obama, who was dubbed by immigration rights groups during his terms in office as the deporter-in-chief. In fact, despite the legacy news outlets whipping up the whole...
I know, and honestly, I hope that changes. I hope Trump takes the lead on that. I'm kind of a little embarrassed that Barack Obama is in leading in that category.
Whole country into a frenzy. In his first term in office, Trump actually deported only about half as many illegal immigrants as Obama did in his first term. Trump deported only 1.5.
Lamb's Grace, nailing it. You're right. Absolutely right.
5 million compared to Obama's 2.9 million in his first term, and then another 1.9 million in his second term. Also, just as a fun fact, Obama holds the record for most deportations in a single year. In 2013, there were 432,000 deportations under his watch. And this disparity between the two administrations—
How did he do that? How did Barack Obama do that? All right, nobody was crying then. So when people start crying now, just remind them of that. In fact, go ahead and get the clips of Obama. Let's go dig them out of the archives and start clipping them out and get ready to put those out there when they start crying about this, because it's just mind control. If they really stopped and thought about what was going on, they would want it to.
Becomes really evident when you look at this chart here, published by the Cato Institute, showing a clear drop after Obama. And in terms of why that drop occurred, according to this analysis, the major reason for the drop is that during Obama's second term, across the whole country, you saw the establishment of many sanctuary cities that began to refuse to comply with ICE. And so when Trump came into his first term, well, he actually inherited the pushback from Obama's second term, and therefore he was not able to deport as many people. And actually, believe it or not, the current Biden administration is on track to tie Trump's first term in terms of raw deportation numbers, at least according to data from the Migration Policy Institute. So this is basically all to say that even though the legacy news outlets in this country and around the world will label this deportation plan as extreme, partisan, and unprecedented, well, it's actually in line with current public sentiment, according to polling, as well as the policies of previous Democrat administrations.
Yeah.
However, that does not mean that the plan will be simple to execute.
Memento.
That's because
What's up,
besides
man?
the personnel challenges that we already discussed and the possibility of using the military, well, there are 4 other large obstacles that Trump is going to run into this time around. The first obstacle has to do with the criminal designation. Basically, in order to fast-track deportations—
That's what I'm saying. This guy does such a great job of breaking down the granular details and things. Like a lot of coverage skips over some of this granular stuff, and he really does a great job getting down to it.
focuses will be to deport criminals first in order to protect national security. And so basically, if an illegal migrant, besides already breaking immigration laws, if he or she broke any other laws while in the country, or if that person had a criminal record prior to entering the US, they will be prioritized first for deportation. This was something that Tom Homan mentioned during that earlier interview we alluded to over on 60 Minutes.
Can you just limit it to criminals and national security threat, though?
If I'm in charge of this, my priorities are public safety threats and national security threats first.
And the idea of prioritizing criminals is not anything new. Obama actually made a similar effort. In fact, in remarks that Obama made back in November of 2014, which is exactly 10 years ago now, he highlighted his effort to concentrate on criminal illegal immigrants. Take a listen.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security.
However, both Obama, as well as now Trump, they're both going to run into a very similar problem. Basically, if you're going to be using the criminal moniker to justify mass deportations, well, you're just going to run out of names very quickly. Because if you want to deport a minimum of 1 million people per year, well, there are just not enough illegal migrants with additional criminal records to fill up that huge number. In fact, along that line, Mr. John Sandwick, who was the former
This is a good first wave, I think.
Director of ICE, he gave an interview over on CNN where he explained in rather good detail why going after
Precisely, Lamb's Grace, precisely. Stop the incentives.
After quote-unquote criminals is not totally realistic. Take a listen.
We have 11 to 12 million immigrants in this country, the vast majority of whom have never committed a crime. According to all the available data, 4.6 million of these people are in mixed status families, meaning a mother, a father, an undocumented mother or father with U.S. citizen children or a U.S. citizen spouse. So when you talk about 1 million people, you can't get there without getting into that population. And now you're talking about ripping families apart. And so I think we all agree, look, we have to use ICE as a public safety tool and focus on those individuals who are committing crimes in the country. But when you kind of turn it into a numerical game and say we're going to hit 1 million in a year, you're not talking about just criminals. There aren't 1 million criminals to get. You're talking about families, and that's the real concern here.
And so that's one challenge that the Trump administration will face when enacting their deportation agenda. However, you might...
Yeah, you gotta just, okay, we're going to just get the criminals out. We don't need to put a number on it. We don't need to put a number on it at all.
I'd say if you're watching this episode, it doesn't really matter. If the person is here illegally, they are already a criminal, even if they didn't break any other laws, which is true. But that also brings us to our next challenge, which is logistics. The process of systematically moving millions or even tens of millions of human bodies across thousands of miles, across even borders, is not easy, especially when the people you're moving, they don't want to be moved, they don't want to be found, and then the countries you're moving them to might not even necessarily want those people back. In fact, along that line, Mr. Stephen Miller, who is again Trump's pick for the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, he gave an interview over on Charlie Kirk's show wherein he discussed the issue of logistics in much greater depth. Take a listen.
You do a raid. Let's say you go to a food processing facility where you know there's a lot of illegal workers. that raid might net illegal aliens, just that one raid, right, from 24 countries. So most countries will refuse to let you take back an alien from a different country. Mexico's not taking illegal aliens from Vietnam. And you could force them back, of course, but that's also a much quicker trip, right? If you're a Vietnamese illegal alien, it's much more inconvenient to be sent back to Vietnam. So you build these facilities where then you're able to say, hypothetically, 3 times a day are the flights back to Mexico. 2 times a day are the flights back to the Northern Triangle, right? On Monday and Friday are the flights back to different African countries, right? On Thursday and Sunday are the flights back to different Asian countries. So you create this efficiency by having these standing facilities where planes are moving off the runway constantly, probably military aircraft, some existing DHS assets. And that's how you're able to scale and achieve the efficiency.
And so obviously there's going to have to be a lot of logistical planning on a very, very huge scale. You have to find the names and locations of all these migrants. You have to do raids. You have to physically capture them. You have to process them. You have to house them even for a short period of time. You need buses to move them around. You need to charter airplanes. You need detention facilities and so on. It's a massive, huge endeavor. However, on that last point regarding detention facilities, there does appear to be some forward momentum. Just last week, you had the Texas Land Commissioner officially offer the Trump administration 1,402 acres of state purchased land along the Texas-Mexico border that can be used for mass deportation operation. Specifically, in the letter that she wrote to Trump, here is what Texas's Land Commissioner wrote, quote, "My office is fully prepared to enter into an agreement with the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or the United States Border Patrol to allow a facility to be built for the processing, detention, and coordination of the largest deportation of violent criminals in the nation's history." Now, obviously, this is a noteworthy gesture, but it's worth mentioning that that space alone wouldn't even come close to housing the number of migrants expected to need detention. But it is a first step, and it shows the possibilities that you can have.
Not all at one time, but on a you're here and you're gone kind of basis, temporary basis, it probably would be all right. I mean, I think we did the math on it. It's quite a bit of quite a bit of land. But that's just one, right? So you're going to need one probably in Arizona, maybe one in California. I would say every border state, that would be all of them, right? Would need at least 1 or 2 of those. So we'll work it out. It's all good.
Republican states proactively cooperate with the Trump administration and freely offer up things like resources, personnel, land to get the job done. However, though, that leads us to the third challenge facing Trump, which are blue states. Because while red states might proactively assist him in this operation, blue states, and in particular, Democrat-controlled sanctuary cities, might go in the exact opposite direction. That's because while some cities, like New York City, for example, might actually willingly cooperate with Trump, others have signaled resistance. Already, you have cities like Chicago and states like California refusing to work or cooperate with ICE on almost anything. They specifically...
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Here's what before he even finishes. So you guys are going to go last, right? And you guys are going to go unminded, right? And as you see other cities having this weight lifted off of them, other states starting to get back to normal life again, and as you see them start to get cleaned up and you start to hear the reports about how great things are going there, and of course you're going to face some funding issues. I guess he's going to talk about how they're going to try to get around that here in a second. But as you start to see, you're going to start to want what they have and be like, well, why hasn't anybody helped us yet? All right. Especially Chicago, where there's already a large population of people who are over it. And guess what? As you're sitting there waiting in line because you don't want to participate, your voters, your constituents are going to be the ones that are going to be making the most noise. And guess what? For all those people that are running the office or have a Democrat stranglehold in places like Chicago, you're going to start losing those, because guess what? You're not going to be seeing the benefits of this operation like other places are. And as they put out their propaganda about how awful this is, right? We need to be putting out the counter narrative of how great things are going now for the places that have been burdened by these sanctuary cities, and how crime is starting to go away. All right, how people are able to they're feeling more safe. Their businesses aren't getting robbed. Their towns and cities are getting cleaned up. They look nice again. People want to go there again. These are the messages we need to send back to these blue places that don't want to participate.
Go out of their way to not inform ICE when they either encounter or even arrest an illegal immigrant. Basically, there's already no cooperation. And after Trump won the election, well, ABC News published this article right here detailing how Democrat leaders, alongside immigration advocacy groups, have spent months preparing and drafting lawsuits that they're going to be filing as soon as Trump enters office.
Right? Lawfare. Another thing that J. Michael Waller warned about is lawfare, trying to gum up the works. We already see how they're trying to go after his appointees, expected. The other thing we're going to look for is mud crawling, right? So they're going to try to muddy it up, make them crawl through mud to get security clearances, and also the lawfare coming, right? So they're going to try to commit lawfare. And while that may be what they planned on doing, right, the countermeasures he's going to talk about here in a second as well.
In that particular article, the Attorney General of California was quoted as saying the following: "In California, we've been thinking about the possibility of this day for months and in some cases years, and been preparing and getting ready by looking at all of the actions Trump said he will take. We're very confident that we will block major efforts by the federal administration, that we will be able to blunt some of the worst of it." And
there you go. See, look, they never stop. Hey, Scott, what's up, dude? Happy Friday. Good to see you. Federal funding should be cut to the sanctuary cities until they comply. Yeah, that'll be part of it. But they're kind of expecting that. Yeah, they're Democrat traitors. They sure are. But they've been expecting it, and this is what this guy's saying. They've been working at it, right? They're like, well, how can we counter this? Let's get our little, mentally ill think tanks together to see how we can keep our corruption alive and well. Yeah, So, like I said, they've been preparing for this. So you can't underestimate them and what they're going to try to do, but they're going to have to play their hands, right? The one thing about it is they'll go all in on stuff like this. They don't have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. They're so arrogant. They think that the first thing they do is going to work. And last time they got away with it, which is kind of a good feign, right? Call it like a feign, because now they think, oh, well, we can just do it again. But I think they're going to find a much more formidable opponent this time.
And California's Attorney General is far from alone. In fact, just a week and a half ago, the DAGA, which stands for the Democratic Attorney Generals Association, it represents the attorney generals in 24 different states, they released a statement, you can see it up on your screen, saying that they are forming something called a line of defense against Trump. The basic premise of their strategy is to block the Trump administration's immigration policy by using Trump's first term in office as a blueprint. Basically, what happened during Trump's first term is that Trump cut off federal grant money to sanctuary cities that were not complying with his policies. However, several states, including the state of New York, wound up suing the administration, saying that that type of a move was illegal. After a lengthy legal battle, an appeals court actually ruled in Trump's favor, but these Democrat states, they appealed that decision to the U.S. Supreme Court. And before the Supreme Court could issue a ruling one way or the other, Joe Biden was sworn into office. He restarted the federal grant program for the sanctuary cities, and the whole case just became moot. Essentially, they just ran out the clock. And so this is the plan that these attorneys general are looking to try once again.
I was just saying, did you guys hear music? I started looking around like, where did that music come from? It's in the background there. All right. Here we go.
However, on the flip side, you have Trump officials saying that they're confident that this time that type of a strategy will not work, that they can quickly get these challenges in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, and that the conservative majority on the court will rule in the Trump administration's favor. And by the way, that's not just a Trump official saying it. You have attorneys general themselves admit that this is likely the case. Here's, for instance,
we got Pan Bondi coming in as well. Let's see. They want Denver to be the new U.S. capital. They are not U.S. They are COG, continuity of government. Let's see. Right here. Yeah, they do. They do wear rhino skins too. That's true. We have a decommissioned Air Force base in Mountain Home, Idaho. Deep Red State has only been used for emergency usage during the COVID plan pandemic for Ohio prisons. Okay, cool. Yeah, hey, use it up. We're gonna need places. We're gonna need places. Democrats, hell spawn, sky. All right.
Since what the Attorney General of Washington State said.
Hey, Dana.
Matter.
How you doing? I see you there.
One of the many reasons why we were successful with our litigation against the Trump administration during the first term was that they were often sloppy in the way that they rolled out, and that provided openings for us to prevail. In court this time around, I anticipate that we will see less of that. And
not because it was the right thing, just because they could and they didn't want this plan to go through.
That is an important difference. And indeed, along that very same line, in a recent interview over on Fox, you had Mr. Tom Homan get asked about his plan to deal with sanctuary cities, and here's what he said.
I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us.
Tom ain't taking no shit.
Suggestion: if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way. If we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you or with you.
Now, Mr. Holman's answer there ties perfectly into the fourth challenge that'll be facing Trump and his administration. Because aside from the Democrats at the state and local level, well, there's going to be another group fighting both tooth and nail against deportations. And that group is, of course, the NGOs, anti-deportation groups like the ACLU's Immigrants' Rights Project.
ACLU, a group that was formed to help facilitate and protect subverters. This is a group that needs to go. Like, it needs to be gone. This is a subversive organization. It's only here to destabilize and demoralize and destabilize and bring things to crisis and protect those who do. I did a bit on these guys a while back, and I put a short out about them as well. I tell you what, while this is playing, I'll go find that short.
Are preparing to file lawsuits in the court of law within the next 2 months, while also, at the very same time, right now, they're already pleading their case in the court of public opinion. For instance, on the very same day that Trump confirmed his intentions to use the U.S. military to fast-track his deportation agenda, the ACLU's executive director issued a statement of his own saying the following, quote, "As we ready litigation and create firewalls for freedom across blue states, we must also sound the alarm that what's on the horizon will change the very nature of American life for tens of millions of Americans. President-elect Trump will soon have the full power of the U.S. government machinery at his disposal to target and displace immigrants at a scale our nation has never experienced." Then, a few days after issuing the statement, the ACLU itself published an article, you can see it up on your screen, urging Joe Biden to use his remaining time in office to limit Trump's deportation agenda by closing down as many ICE detention facilities as humanly possible. Quote, "The ACLU is calling on President Biden to close detention facilities and halt ICE's current detention expansion plans. These steps are vital to protect communities from the planned enforcement agenda of the incoming administration. They are also vital to saving lives and preventing abuses against people in ICE custody, often committed by for-profit prison companies. ICE should also immediately rescind all outstanding requests for information or proposals for detention expansion." Alongside this open letter to Joe Biden, the ACLU actually maintains this webpage right here, which comes with a pre-filled out petition letter requesting the Biden administration to stop the expansion of ICE facilities. All you have to do is fill out your name and address, and the letter will get sent on your behalf. And of course, it's beyond worth mentioning that the ACLU is just one of several dozen different organizations that are gearing up for a protracted legal battle once Trump comes back into the White House, which again is just a repeat of what happened during his first term. Because whether it was Trump's attempt to end the document.
Okay, hold on. I want to stop it right there for 1 second. Pop back up here, and as promised, let's go one level deeper on the ACLU, and let's revisit this winning clip, this winning short here. And see, let's do it like this.
Hoover leads America's fight against Marxism. In the months after the Palmer raids, there were two notable developments. First, liberal and progressive jurists founded a group called the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, to defend accused foreign anarchists and communists and protect their rights to agitate and subvert.
Washington to pay $1.6 million to settle lawsuits after protests at Trump's 2017 inauguration. The class action suit alleged mass arrests and excessive force. They reached a $1.6 million settlement in two suits. The lawsuits were brought by the American Civil Liberties Union of D.C. and attorney Jeffrey Light on behalf of protesters. The ACLU said in a statement Monday that the lawsuit alleged police chief Newsham and more than 20 officers engaged in or supervised constitutional violations, including mass arrests of demonstrators without probable cause, unlawful conditions, and confinement for detainees, and or use of excessive force. Hoover.
Yeah, so you know their origin story now. They have no business being here. It's another one of those things that have to go. It's in place only to do harm, and we gotta get rid of those places that do harm, those groups and those people, and make them pay so nobody else wants to repeat the toxic behavior. All right, so let's get back to it. One, in the DACA.
Dreamers program, his attempt to change the Flores settlement agreement, his Muslim country travel ban, pretty much every single move related to immigration was met with a flurry of legal challenges, which is exactly what's about to happen once again. And whether or not Trump will be able to push through will determine whether or not his deportation plan will succeed or fizzle out. If you'd like to go deeper into this particular story, I'll throw the links to all my research notes. You'll be able to find them down in that description box, which is the box right next to those like and subscribe buttons, both of which I hope you take a quick moment to smash so that this information can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. And then lastly, I would love to know your thoughts. Leave them in the comment section below. Do you agree with this deportation plan? Do you support it? Do you think it should go through? And also, do you think it will go through? Do you think all these different legal challenges, personnel problems, and laws from 1798 that might or might not apply to the situation, how do you think that'll all play out? Do you think a year from now, we'll look back and go, wow, that deportation plan was really successful at getting rid of, let's say, 1 million illegal migrants? Or a year from now, we'll look back and go, wow, Trump really had his hands tied and he wasn't able to deport anyone. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please leave them in the comment section below.
Yeah, let's hear it. What do you guys think? Thank you so much, Roman and Epoch Times, for that beautiful, wonderful deep dive on that. I think it was very informative. I hope you guys enjoyed it. ACLU is now begging for prison time. Yeah, that group has to go. I mean, we can't allow groups like that to function in our country. They need to be defunded, discredited, and disposed of, because all they're doing is tying up our legal system, and they have way more pull than they should ever have had, especially considering their origins. That's not the kind of group we want running around, able to hose up the works and able to create optics and do all the other bullshit and call rioters protesters and get them lawsuit money. I mean, that's what they're doing. And then they're working with the corruption inside the justice system too, hand in hand. That where there's smoke, there's fire, there's dirty shit going on with those people. They need to go. They need to go. In fact, what we need to do with the ACLU is delete. That's right. Yeah, and the Southern Poverty Law Center too. That's another one we need to. That's right. We need to delete them too. They need to be gone. All they do, there's subversive organizations. There's the fine line we talk about, like with free speech and subversion. Subversion relies on free speech in order to run obstructed through a free country, right? And we don't want to jeopardize our precious free speech, because we see how important it is, right? The way that we combat these organizations is the organizations themselves shouldn't exist, right? So while the chuckleheads at these institutions can walk around and say whatever they want, it should fall on deaf ears. But they shouldn't be allowed to organize and attack, because that's what they're doing. So the organization itself can be illegal while the speech can be free. The other is that we take the generational warfare approach of solution culture, where we combat the generational warfare coming at us by putting in generational solutions. That's what solution culture is about. And that's the big deal here, right? And so we do that by arming our future generations with trivium logic that teaches them what a false premise is and what fallacies are, and how to and to actively call them out and avoid them, right? When we have generations, I want you to imagine generations of people in this country who are armed with that information. Subversive groups like the ACLU and the Southern Poverty Law Center will no longer be able to be effective, not much less people who act and talk like them, right? So the subverters will then lose their power over the mind. See, because it's a battle of the mind, it's psychological warfare. And so we have to combat it with preventative measures. And that's what we're talking about here on Winning Reality. That's what solution culture is about. That's the thing I'm out here promoting. That everything I do at this channel is about leading us towards solution culture, right? And it does, it might not seem like that every day. And some days we're just having fun, but no, the underlying everything I teach, the way I teach it, and then all the topics that we cover and how we cover them are all leading us towards the ultimate solutions, and that we will be the generations right here, right now, the group right here, right now, that leads the charge, that implements the root cause solutions, that generationally install and implement the preventative measures to keep this shit from keep happening over and over and over again. Like, we've learned so much from J. Michael Weller's book, Big Intel. We read audiobooks Monday nights on Unrig the Game. We're getting ready to finish up Big Intel, which has been I think our best book so far, this Monday. And then we'll be moving on to our next book, Government Gangsters by Kash Patel, our new FBI director. So we're going to get a great deep dive on that as well, about the deep state and what he's going to do when he gets in there. It's going to be awesome. So I hope you'll join us for reading audiobooks. It's a lot of fun. However, Big Intel has given us the background on all this, and we see that the cycle repeats, right? Cultural Marxism is the root cause issue in this case, right? When it comes to the psychological warfare, to ideological subversion, at the root of these things is cultural Marxism, and we must remove the enablement for cultural Marxism in order to defeat it. We do that by, 1, raising awareness about it, 2, making sure people have the right research and understanding on it, 3, putting in preventative measures on a generational level, so where its effects, its psychological warfare effects, cannot harm the future, right? The future generations that are coming. Now, many in our generations, we might not save them. We might not be able to pull them out of the darkness, but we are in the light. So this is where we can make a difference. And this is why I know that people that are here want to make a difference, or else otherwise you'd be out there just mindlessly looking at somebody yakking, right? But you want to be part of the solution. That's why you're here, and I appreciate that, and I respect you for that. So thank you for being here. And that's what we're going to work towards. And that's what we're going to get there. But we have to take care of the things that are in front of us right now. Step 1 was to get Trump reelected, and to start now. Step 2, to remove the corruption in our government. From that point on, we'll be able to make progress, right? We'll be able to open up the enablement of solution culture, right? So we'll be able to halt and reverse the damage of Agenda 2030, the globalist plan for this world, pushing back on that, removing the enablement for it, undoing the damage, like I said. And then as we're doing that, putting in the preventative measures that will end cultural Marxism forever in our country and hopefully the world, because it is the scourge of this earth, that mind virus. If winning reality isn't just it's just an idea, it's a good idea. It's one you should subscribe to and join every week for live streams, 5 base live streams a week at least. All right. But this idea of winning reality is here to counter the toxic, evil idea of cultural Marxism. It's here to defeat it. And you're part of that idea. I'm just the guy up here talking on behalf of the idea known as winning reality. That's all. But if everybody has their own ideas about what winning reality is, and that's what it is. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. Lamb's Grace says cultural Marxism needs to be removed from public schools and universities. Absolutely. That's one of the things that Trump wants to do. Get rid of critical theory, which is cultural Marxism in disguise. But we have to go further than that. We have to replace it with something. We have to replace it with the trivium education, right? Step 1. That's the first. If Trump said, pick one thing, pick one thing for me, I would say trivium education. Why? Because I know that it will arm those minds against fallacies, against false premises, and they will become little masters. Our children and their children and their children become masters of logic, right? That doesn't mean you're going to be a cold, unfeeling person. It just means that you're not going to fall for bullshit. The grifters will be out of business, right? The subverters will be out of business. And where they are, they will be exposed, and they will be ridiculed and laughed at, and people will not want to be like them. And this also goes into not just government, not just ideology, but narcissism. It's the way to defeat narcissism, gaslighting, manipulation. All the tools of the narcissist are the tools of the subverters. They all do the same damn thing. It's all psychological warfare. So when you teach a generation after generation after generation of how to combat psychological warfare, the game's over. You've won the war. You've unrigged the game. The dirty, nasty, evil people can no longer do that to you. That's the goal. That's what we're getting towards, and we'll make this slow crawl. We'll make the slow crawl together, one viewer at a time, one new subscriber at a time, one like at a time. It doesn't matter whether I'm the most popular channel on YouTube or I'm just a voice in a sea of voices. But as long as you're here, we're part of it. We're going to get it done, and it will open up the gates, and we will get there. And it doesn't have to be a massive, Mr. Beast Tim Pool, whatever level following here to get the job done. The message just has to work, right? And the opportunity will come when the right people will find it. like through immersion, right? Spontaneous order. We will come together and we will get this done. And if you're here, you're part of it. You're part of the solution. I invite you to take this journey with us. It's going to be one hell of a ride, and we're going to be doing this for a very long time. So make sure that you saddle up, hit the ring the bell, because YouTube doesn't want us to win. They don't want us to win. They don't want to see solutions like this. So make sure you ring that bell, subscribe, tell your friends about it, bring your base friends to a show, and make sure that you join this fight, because no matter where you're at in the world, we all need to work together. Right. And I've often said, once we get our shit straight here, and once we get this thing on board, I want to roll it out to the rest of the world. I want to save Canada. I want to save the UK. I want to save other places around the world that are suffering right now, all over the place. They're suffering from this globalist cultural Marxism bullshit. Right. That's what we're about here. So thank you guys so much for being here, and let's see what you guys are saying in the crowd. Thank you for that. Listening to me go there. Sometimes I get on a roll, man. What can I say? Yeah, Lamb's, you're nailing it. Lamb's got, she knows what's going on. Narcissistic abuse can damage you so deeply, but it can also galvanize you to fight back harder, so it doesn't happen to anyone else. Absolutely, Shelly. Absolutely. Sure do. Thank you, Flatty. Thank you. It's good to see you back, man. It's good to see you. I'm glad I ran into you today. All right. Let's see. What else we got here? Okay. Yeah. Oh, AH. Oh, AH, man. That was that. There you go. That's the face of covert narcissism right there. Amber Heard. Yep. And she did a number on some guys, and she broke, and just thank God that for Camille Vasquez and Johnny Depp's lawyers, that they did a tremendous job. That was a winning moment for everybody on earth right there when that happened, and what came out of that. And I hope Johnny Depp gets his head on straight when it comes to politics. But no matter what, he is a hero for taking that fight on, and he did more good than I think he'll ever realize. And so thank God for that, and thank God for that being exposed. All right, what else we got here? Okay, yes, yeah. Check out Talking Trash the Truth. Did a lot of videos on that topic. I started my channel on that topic, believe it or not, way back when, my very badly made videos. But I had a great intention behind them. It was called Epidemic on Display, Covert Narcissism. I had an interesting take on it. That's before I talked on my videos, before I did anything. I was putting those videos out, trying to get the message out about what this awful disease that's happening is going on, and how men are being abused, and no one's talking about it, and what it's doing to families, and what it's doing to people in this world. All abuse is wrong, and we have to fight it. And this is, like I said, some of the solutions I'm talking about here are ways to fight it. I also believe that we should be putting more energy into early education about narcissism. So again, that can be another thing that we remove the enablement for, right? By teaching people what gaslighting is, and that it's wrong not to participate in it, not to participate in manipulation and blackmail and all kinds of stuff, because there's some toxic kids out there right now, right? And they're just following in their parents' footsteps, who have then been demoralized as well along down the road, and they're handing that disease down. Narcissism is a disease that's handed down from parent to child, from adult to child. It's fixable. We can stop it. There is a way to stop it. We have to get the corruption out of our system first. We have to get good people back in charge. We have to restore morality, and then we can start. And we have to get that woke bullshit out of schools and replace it with narcissistic education, so that kids don't fall into it, and so that kids that aren't falling into it can get help, and so kids that do try to participate in it are pushed to the side, right? They're like, no, we don't. This is not the kind of kid. You're not going to manipulate this group of children. You're not going to manipulate other kids. You're not going to be accepted by other children when you act this way. Right now, these kids get away with it. They play the well poisoning game. They play the blackmail game. They play all these games with each other that are very bad for them, and in some cases drive kids to do very horrible things to themselves. So it has to be stopped. We have to get the kids that we can help, and we have to get the parents that we can help. We need to put more energy into that mental health than anything else, and we'll have such a better world. Families will stay together. Friendships will stay together. People will be stronger. People will be unified. I can go on and on and on about this, man. I can go on and on and on about this one. Straight, white, masculine men are part of the problem every time a libtard opens their mouth about it, right? Depth is a weak-minded leftist, so he's so easy a target for her. I think Elon was, you know, that not just that, you know, he very distracted, rock star syndrome, but also was very, very messed up on drugs from his own abuse, dealing with his own trauma. I don't like to, you know, weak-minded leftist. He was drugs. He was abused by his mother. He had a lot of damage going on there, and that's why I said I hope that Johnny comes around with his politics. But you know, he's wrapped up in that mind control machine. He's not a driver of it. He's just a guy who's out there trying to. He got wrapped up in it. He, you know, and who's to say any one of us couldn't have gotten wrapped up in the same situation? You know, you're this stellar looking, voted best looking guy alive many times, dude, who's got talent out the wazoo for acting and music, and has an art and has millions of influences coming at him left and right with nobody to tell him what's right and what's wrong. You know, I just hope for people like that. I hope for clarity. Clarity is what I pray for people. When I pray for anything, I pray for clarity, because the clarity will put you on the right path. Clarity will wake you up, and it will save you, right? And then from clarity, you will find your morality, you will find your empathy, and you'll hopefully move on from the darkness that you're in. So I just pray for clarity for him, and I have to give the respect that he took on Amber Heard and what he did for this world. Right or wrong about anything else in his life, that one act right there is going to save lives, and he'll be appreciated and remembered for that. And that's what I try to think of when I think of Johnny. But you know, we can all have our opinions about Johnny. All right, let's start moving on here. Because I want to get to our next topic. Are we the target of a PsyOp? Although this gentleman says yes, and it's active right now. It is possible that we are being subject to a PsyOp, psychological operations, right now. PsyOps are techniques pushed by three-letter agencies in the past, controlling people's minds and hearts. Yeah, and subversive elements too. As we talk about, ideological subversion is pretty much run rampant now on its own, where you have generations of people that have been indoctrinated by it that now just naturally do it, right? It's become their normal behavior. Unfortunately, even as an electorate, we've been also tricked into these psyops to push issues like going to war. You know, some of the stuff we're going to know about here. But the new surprise is that there is clearly evidence that big tech has been conducting a psyop operation on all of us. And it targets the normies, the ones who do not care if big tech has their data. So let's take a look at what this guy has to say. I watched a good deal of this, but I thought you guys might find this interesting. So we'll analyze it. We'll see what we think. And obviously somebody who has had some experience with this. Here we go.
Are we targets of an actual PsyOp? Today you will find out that this is not a theory. If you pay attention, you will understand now why I push privacy and why my teachings are not paranoia. I've told you over and over what drives me. I even gave you snippets of my childhood to drive this point, which is an experience in a dictatorship with zero free speech. And it is not about a political side. And I've repeated over and over as well that this is not a political channel. And that's because privacy is not dependent on politics. It is driven by who's in power and who wants to keep that power. Everyone in power historically has sought to keep that power. And the victim is often all of you and your ability to maintain free thought and free choice. However, having said that, I will call out the side we arbitrarily call the left. They're the ones calling the shots with PsyOps today. If you want to label me biased, then you're so deep in the matrix that you should just stay there and leave us alone, because you will not care about the evidence. Some of you who are so politicized will dispute me and say that it's just a conspiracy theory and that there's no one trying to influence our thoughts. There's nothing external that can influence you. Listen, people, this is not the first time these PsyOps have been done. It is still being done, and it's very common. It's very stealthy, and it's a scary attempt at control. But it can only happen in environments where someone controls the flow of information so opposition views are not seen. In other words, places with no free speech. I will state it point blank. Big tech is involved in a real PsyOp. But be forewarned that I will tread lightly here, as the organization involved is the one that can censor me. Let's get deep into this. Stay right there.
Now let's Rob.
Are PsyOps, psychological operations, real? Can someone actually play with your mind so you can start following some leader or point of view blindly, even when it goes counter to your prior opinions? In today's world, can some multi-trillion big tech behemoth do their own PsyOps on you so they can shape the world to their agenda? I think Joe Rogan recently discussed the PsyOps angle and was focused more on the media doing PsyOps. But it's not my idea of a true PsyOp, which to me is an organized, planned, and data-driven affair. In my opinion, mainstream media was more of an instrument to amplify a particular message. In other words, I think they were more of a tool of the PsyOp.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree that they're a tool as well, because they craft and maintain the narrative, the false narrative, the establishment narrative. That's what they're there to do. They're also there to activate their side with emotional triggers and emotional triggering words, juxtaposition, sound bites, and so on. So yeah, I think we're in agreement here.
Of course, PsyOps are not a new thing. This term is typically associated with three-letter agencies. Today, places with the most harsh political conditions like North Korea, Iran, Afghanistan, China, Venezuela, Cuba, and so on are places where information flow is extremely controlled. When information is fed into small communities, it is used to build radical extremists. And unfortunately, these extremists are actually just the victims, as they are convinced to give their lives up for a cause defined by their leaders. Whether it be the kamikaze pilots of World War II or the Islamic suicide bombers of today, nothing has really changed. Just to demonstrate the power of close communities with close messaging, remember the Jonestown Massacre? That's where cult leader Jim Jones convinced the entire community of 898 to do revolutionary suicide. Or remember David Koresh and the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas, where a whole community was also convinced to commit mass suicide? In the big picture, political messaging often features big in convincing a population to agree to moves which in retrospect may be unethical or inhumane. The Vietnam War was triggered by a Gulf of Tonkin incident that was pushed by three-letter agencies, but that incident never actually happened. How can we forget the WMD threat pushed by Bush and Cheney that started the Second Iraq War? Going back in time, during the Kennedy presidency, the Joint Chiefs of Staff planned a false flag operation to sink a U.S. ship so they could blame it on Cuba. Fortunately, Kennedy disapproved this plan, but then he gets assassinated. Folks, history is filled with lots of events where we're manipulated constantly in never-ending psyops to satisfy someone in power. I bring this to your attention so you can understand that this happens whether Democrats or Republicans are in power.
Man, I should have made this an unveiling reality episode, but we'll do it. It's not that long.
Now let's analyze this in operational detail. There are certain elements to PsyOps that you need to be aware of. I'm going to tell you about 4 tools needed for effective PsyOps operations, in my opinion. First, there are psychological techniques that have been learned in the past to trigger people to do certain things they didn't originally intend to do. In benign settings, a salesperson does a semi-psyop on you to get you to buy a product. For example, a well-understood sales technique is to make a closing pitch and then stay silent. The emotional pressure
Like
is
rule number
built
one.
up from that silence, and that elicits a response. When someone is selling you a car, pay attention to these little details because it is something the salespeople are trained in. There are many of these triggers that are known that can cause people to gravitate towards an argument. Other examples are the manipulation of fear. Second, marketing techniques are tools used in PsyOps. In general, it is about finding the target market. This means identifying a population that is likely to appreciate the message. This doesn't necessarily mean the target person already believes what you're going to push. It just means that from market testing, statistical evidence shows that they are likely to buy your argument. This is an important piece here because some people are not vulnerable to targeting, but it is not essential to target everyone. For example, you can disrupt a population by building a small but loud extremist group. Target marketing is about data analysis. This is not a random probing of a population. So I just want to make sure you understand that this is on scientific evidence. Third, the message has to stand out so you hear it often. Advertisers know that they have to hit you X number of times with an ad before it sticks. This X could be 7 times or 20 times. The point is, it's a measurable value based on statistics. So part of the control of the message is to do message amplification and message suppression, meaning censorship. I explained these two concepts in my mind control video. And this then hones the message to reach the target party. Be aware that targeting means that the identities of this population has to be known for the message to be sent.
Rob. That's right, Scott.
Fourth, in my recent video, I talked about how authority can be used to push a message, and even that alone can be sufficient. As long as authority is established, even false messages can be pushed. This is because most people are compliant by nature. This is a self-defense mechanism. During the pandemic, did you believe all the official messaging to be true? In retrospect, I know from personal experience that many statements said were utterly false and were just done to control opinion. Let's not forget mainstream media here. The independent press, through professional journalists, qualify as an authority. If you can manipulate a group of journalists to parrot a particular message like Hitler, then they're part of the PsyOp instruments. The point here is that there is a sophisticated array of tools that can be used now to do these PsyOps, and big tech is involved with it to push an agenda. I don't know what the main agenda is. Maybe it is to build a compliant population. I can't attribute things to left or right points of view anymore, since from my knowledge of history, these lines have been blurred in recent times, which kind of proves it's about control. Just to make this very clear, in order for any PsyOps to work, they need data. So the organizations to fear are the ones with clear possession of your data. The data is used to analyze behavior. They can use a broad data analysis to see who the target markets are based on some behavioral data, for example. But in order to measure the response to messaging, there has to be an identity. They have to know who you are. The identity can then allow the actual targeting. The biggest collector of this data is Google. There's no doubt about this. The next biggest collector is Facebook. But do not exclude the capabilities of Apple and Microsoft as well, and I will address them in future videos. Those of you who are known to Google and known to Facebook intimately are known targets, and the most vulnerable of you will be controlled with fake messaging. Now, I can't tell you specific instances of what messaging each individual gets, since it can be very customized to the target, but I can tell you that it's being done. Also, if you're a target, don't expect that you're being triggered to go outside your political world. Maybe you're just being pushed to radicalized behavior because it makes you stand out, or your weirdness becomes an instrument of influence to turn off others. Now, so far you're thinking I'm a loony and I'm just making these things up, and I truly am paranoid. What I'm going to show you now is an example. It is one of the more well-documented examples of PsyOps in practice that we can all easily see. This is one company. There are many. Now, I will be direct with you here. I've made a video discussing this topic 3 times now over the years, and in all these past cases, the video was suppressed. So I'm not going to delve into detail. I'll just show you what is, then I will allow you to judge for yourself without too many words. The company I will show you is this. Just so I don't have to battle with the censorship algorithm, I will not even mention their name. You can just read it yourself. This company is an Alphabet partner. They've been working with Google for many years, and one of their earlier projects is called the redirect method. In light of their partnership with Google, this company has access to Google data. So all your interactions with Google, including your search activity, YouTube activity, Gmail, Google Docs, Google Photos, the Google Sensor Vault, and so on, would be available to them for analysis. And just to give you an idea of what this company has been involved with, their early project with Google involved GCHQ in the UK. They sought to identify Islamic extremists in London by their Google data, and then using Google search as their intervention method, they redirected search results to an alternate set of results. Basically, they wanted to suppress what they've identified as extremist ideas in search results and then amplify alternate search results in order to present a different view. While this in itself would not sound suspicious to any Westerner, the problem is that this company is of the extreme left-wing bent. This PsyOps was used to influence politics. It was used for first identifying people who protest against left-wing ideas and then labeling them as violent right-wing extremists, and then subjecting these people to the redirect method. You can research past projects of this company and you will find 100% focus on progressive left ideas, which I'm sure matches those of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh, that's
this was also used to push establishment ideas during the pandemic. This was used to cut off dissent. The redirect method is so precise that it can map the Google ID of targeted populations to their exact locations on a map. Here I show an example of a map from their older website that I've captured in my prior video. Now, this company has expanded its approach and commercialized the PsyOps.
Look at that. It had FEMA coffins on there.
And I will call it that since there is no other more accurate description of things like the redirect method. But just to show you their intent, let's read the section on the website called Interventions, which is really the PsyOps part. Look at this little chart. It is showing that their source of data is all of your data that can be found on the internet. Obviously, it has to be identity-based or it will not be useful. Then the next category is labeled Unique Risk Assessment Algorithms. This, of course, is the data analysis step that I've already said is being used to classify people into target populations. And then further to the right, it has a fork, and the first part of the fork says Actionable Data Insights.
Take care, Scott.
The research phase. And the second part of the fork is Interventions to End Harms. This is when the PsyOps actually begin. Now let's look at the terms described in their actual intervention process. Disruption. Of course, you already know the kind of disruption that is done here. Suppression or censorship. And you also know what counter messaging is, which obviously is targeted message amplification. Then there's this service and support connection, which is a nice way of saying that this intervention now includes parties like the government, someone to step in and physically knock on doors, or someone in a platform to disable an account. You can check the description for the link to this site and study it yourself. But I think you should be getting the point now that I'm not kidding you about actual PsyOps running today. This company, which I'm sure is one of many, is selling their services to others. And I would venture a guess that their clients would likely be other tech platforms, governments, and three-letter agencies. Anyone heard of the new social media Twitter clone called Blue Sky?
Hold on, I want to answer this question real quick. So this is a good topic, but I do have a question. I received tons of Harris ads, I despise and had to keep blocking them. Yet still receive them mostly on YouTube. That's just basically the segmentation that they put you in terms of how they're going to feed the ads. It was very broad segmentation, by the way. Yeah, and part of that is harassment. Part of that's harassment. Part of it's demoralization. They don't really care that you hate Harris. They want you to think that she's super popular. They want to demoralize you by constantly throwing her tainted establishment opinions at you, and making you believe that this is like an overwhelming conclusion, and you're just kind of boxed in with the rest of the segment there. That's why you kept getting it, and even though you were blocking it. So unfortunately, that's just, they played very dirty. Their social the digital marketing team. They're very young too. They were very young and inexperienced, yet very tactical. But they were very broad reaching in the way they did things.
This was started by Jack Dorsey of old Twitter. That's where all the left-wing progressives flocked to after the election. You can see the extreme censorship there with any right-leaning point of view. But that company has only 20 employees. There's no way they can do all the censorship manually.
Okay, yeah, another thing too, just to add that, another reason why you may get a lot of ads that you hate on YouTube is to encourage you to buy the premium subscription. That way you don't have to see them.
Could they be a customer of this PsyOps company or maybe another competitor? There are other techniques, by the way, other than a redirect method or censorship. Other interventions include automatic bot counter messaging in user comments. It's really hard to trust what you see. Who is vulnerable to these PsyOps? If you read the criteria for identifying targets and doing interventions, it should be obvious that the target is the normie. The normie in love with their iPhone 16s, the people who know nothing about privacy and don't realize that every click on the internet is tracked. The people who are oblivious to the Google ID or the Facebook ID or the Apple ID that can be used to identify you over the internet. Folks, it should be clear that those in my privacy community are immune from being targeted. If you're already a conformist because you've been turned in the past, or you're such a normie and in this case already left-wing per their qualification, then obviously you will be left alone. You're not in the target market, at least not today. Again, depends on the current objective. The target folks are those who resist the ideas of big tech. If you're a regular watcher of this channel, you know that I give you many strategies that all contribute to making you all disappear from big tech records. Remember that though this is specifically a big tech threat, this can be used by a government in power if they conform to big tech's agenda. In which case, then it is even more dangerous because government data and government intervention can be added to increase the threat. This has happened during the Biden administration in a big way. But with the change this election cycle, it would appear that big tech and media are no longer aligned with government. This bifurcation for the next 4 years is important. It weakens big tech. So keep an eye on this and see what disruptions and interventions big tech might make to gain their power back. But this opposition of ideology is good for us in general. It limits the abuse. By the way, there are right-wing bias organizations that do similar things to this company. One known example is Palantir. Palantir's staff were connected to the Cambridge Analytica debacle. So this idea of PsyOps was tried by the right too.
Yeah, I would say in the right, yeah, nobody is immune. That's true, because that's the way the human brain OS works, right? So when you get down to the root, they're just exploiting our physiology. But yeah, you know, and I don't know if he's going to say this next or not, but I will say that what he's talking about right now is going to be geared towards the neocon rhino group right? That is now on the outs. So yes, the name Republican has been associated with that group most of our lives, and we still have to do the work to get that association to be gone now that MAGA is in the house, y'all. But that's been a long road to destroy the false left-right paradigm, to destroy the illusion of choice, and to actually give us a true American party. So that's, and not a globalist party, globalist establishment party. So I don't know if he's going to go into that or if he has that sophistication, but I'm just going to preempt whatever he's going to say next with the fact that what he's talking about is what, the Cheneys, the Bushes, the Romneys, those characters would be involved in.
Be careful. A pro-establishment right-wing government could side with right-wing big tech organization like Palantir. I'm especially worried about neocon politicians.
Oh, there you go. See, he said it.
Who lean in this direction. Trump is anti-establishment, so he might disrupt this. We'll see.
I hope so. In closing,
let me just make a closing comment here. The elite of Hollywood called the people who voted for Trump uneducated, ignorant, sucking morons. This included names like Sharon Stone, Alec Baldwin, Ronnie Chang, George Takei, Rob Reiner, Stephen King. They're supposedly the smart ones. But this supposedly ignorant bunch of voters were able to resist the PsyOps. Sounds pretty smart to me. And since this group of elites did not seem to be aware of the PsyOps, then I would question their own intellect, or maybe they're in the inner circle.
Boom.
So watch out, my friends. Protect your personal information. This will depower their control and their ability to do the PsyOps.
Dude, I dug it. What'd you guys think? What did you guys think? I thought that was great. He did a great job. He laid it out very clearly. He was totally based throughout. I don't know about all this other work, but I think that was pretty damn spot on. In a lot of ways, these are things that I've been saying. I go a little bit deeper, a little bit further, but that's fine because he's laying it out on a certain awareness at a certain awareness level, right? My stuff's more deep dive stuff. So we go awareness, research to consideration and decision. We go through the whole spectrum here, but a lot of content out there is awareness, and he did do awareness and research in this. So, and he did ask you to consider at the end certain aspects of it. So he did a great job. I'm not familiar with any of his other work, but I think that Rob Braxman did a fantastic job on that. It was definitely informative. Yeah, absolutely. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was good. That was really good. And like I said, a lot of things in there we align with. All right, dude. Very cool. Very cool. That was awesome. I can hear you saying it right now. It was awesome. I got an awesome from Count, man. We're doing good. We're doing good. All right. Let's see. I watched this channel before. Oh, cool. Yeah, I just happened to just run across it for the first time. So I saw it and listened to it today. I was like, this sounds like it's going to be great stuff. We should actually talk about this tonight. Especially with, like I said, leading up into it was the discussion about deportation, how they're going to use optics, how they're going to use PsyOps, right, to try to manipulate people's opinions about deportation. I thought it would be a good thing to put there right next to it. Let me see as I queue up the next stuff. Yeah, I did that. Let's get rid of that. I think that was right. To put it in delete. All right. Yeah. No candy coating at all. Laid it out nice and simple. Yep, straight to the point. Everybody enjoyed it. Good thumbs up. If you guys loved it, thumbs up it. Thumbs it up in the chat. Make sure you thumbs up the video so more people will see it. And if you want to share that message or share my take on it, please do. Please do. All right. We're gonna get into some cabinet watch stuff here now. I think that's where we're going next. Let me make sure as I refresh my lists over here on the side. Yeah. All right. We got that one out of the way. Let's get rid of that. And let's see. Did I have anything that I close on the border. I think we got border pretty much taken care of for the night. So we'll leave it where it is. Yep. Real quick today before we head into something else. So we got a one shot topic here. On this, we're going to bring in Jeremy for a quick little rundown of this. Intermission time. All right. Well, okay, it's intermission time. You know what that means. Thank you, Wolfworm, for the $5 super chat. Intermission time. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I scared 2 people off, but that's all right. Hopefully they'll come back. Let's see. 14 over there on Rumble. How you doing, Rumble? Thank you for being here this evening, everybody over on Rumble. Please hit the follow over there and thumbs up. That helps out on the Rumble side, gets the channel and the video out so more people can see and appreciate the content, this deep dive content that we do. All right. Woohoo. Let's see. Okay, let me pull up the next one here. Sometimes I feel like I go a little too far with my super chat videos. All right. Matt Walsh goes nuclear at Supreme Court as woke weirdo protesters and humiliate themselves.
Or saw this floating across your timelines, but there is an extraordinarily important battle going on at the Supreme Court today to protect kids from deranged parents who want attention on the internet. And so they put them through gender affirming care, whatever that is, science that is murky.
Robin Hood.
Procedures that have already begun.
Robin Hood, how you doing? I'm going to stop and read your chat since you're new. How you doing? Good to see you. I've been watching that guy for a while. He has some interesting ideas about becoming stateless and living as a digital resident in a country that offers it. Interesting. I'll have to look at more of his videos, but that one caught my eye because it's the kind of things we talk about here all the time. And so I just brought that to the crowd to share and to analyze together. And I think it was spot on. I like his takes. And I really think that he had a lot of good things to say and that he could open a lot of people's eyes with that approach. So anyways, yeah, thank you for that. And welcome to the channel, man. Great to meet you.
Gun to be banned in other countries. And now the United States government is suing to keep these procedures in place. The Biden administration is suing to keep their ability to ruin kids forever. And it's currently sitting at the Supreme Court today, hearing arguments right now. There are clashes outside of degenerates and people who are good, God-fearing Americans. So let's actually get into this. Matt Walsh is set to speak today. I believe he's in the room. So things are heating up here. And, shout out to Matt, not just Matt, but everyone that's involved in this, who are speaking at these events, who are standing up for the rights of people who can't stand up for themselves. So Tennessee's ban on basically surgeries, permanent surgeries on kids. Now, you can't get a tattoo till you're 18. You can't rent a car till you're 25. You can't drink till you're 21, but you can have a double mastectomy at 13 years old. It's healthy tissue removed, not that you have cancer or something like that. It's bonkers. I do want to remind people, gift boxes, Christmas is coming up. Looking for a Christmas gift. Now, let me go back to this article here before we get to some unfathomably based counter protesters. So Alito pushes on ACLU claims. So this is live coverage.
Again, with the ACLU, they're always on the wrong side of things. They're always there to push the subversive aspect and to protect it. How about that? A couple times tonight, our opening. There we go. Yes. Our opening story tonight, things we talked about, things we touched on, are coming up in subsequent stories. How about that? I love it. You know things are going right when that happens. You've put together a good package when everything builds on itself.
I actually want to go back to the first article here. This is live coverage of the event. You hear a lot of people, you see a lot of people speaking at this, coming up, sharing their stories. Here's a little bit of what Matt Walsh had to say.
Be made possible through irreversible drugs and surgery. Gender ideology is deeply sinister. It is a unique threat to children in particular. It is one of the greatest and most incomprehensible evils ever visited upon children in the whole history of the human race. These are the truths that bring us to this spot on this day, that biology is a fact, that we have a duty to protect our children, that the trans agenda denies the fact of biology and is a distinct threat to our children. We affirm these truths. We call the Supreme Court to affirm them too. Now, the other side claims that
You can
this
hear them
is a
spurting
case
out.
about rights. They say that the Tennessee law infringes on the rights of so-called trans kids. There are a few problems with that claim. First of all, there's no such thing as a trans kid. That doesn't exist. Those kids are not trans. They are confused, and their confusion has been exploited by quacks and abusers. They are abuse victims. They are not trans kids. Second, the law in Tennessee isn't banning kids from doing anything. It's banning doctors from causing permanent damage to kids. This is a ban targeting doctors and parents who are abusive and who
I
are
agree.
themselves targeting children. So what the trans activists, what the people over there are actually claiming is not that kids have a right to be castrated, but that doctors have the right to castrate them. They are fighting for the right of adults to abuse and harm and mutilate
100%.
and permanently damage
Yep,
and destroy
exactly.
children. That's what all those people over there are fighting for. It's
Based. You know, Matt Walsh is doing, you know, I've had criticism with him. I don't want to hear anything he has to say about pop culture, TV, or music. But on this issue, he's 100% right, and he's out there doing the work.
Yep. And you know what? And I don't want to hear shit from Jeremy about July 13th either, because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about that, you know, or anything like that. Any kind of thing like that, Jeremy is totally off on, but he's 100% right on this. You know, there's things that even though we don't agree with each other on, when it comes down to the base intention of what we're trying to do and doing the good work, even when we're not on our A game, or we don't have agreement, 100% agreement, we can still stand together for the right causes. And that's what I think this really illustrates here. You got three creators on the screen right now, right, who don't always agree with each other, and don't always agree with each other's takes. But in this issue right here, we can come together and work together and appreciate the hard work of each other, even when it's not in that. And like I happen to like my Matt Walsh's work. And I, you know, he, like I said, yeah, sometimes he does have takes I don't necessarily agree with, but when it comes to this issue, he's 100%. When it comes to the racism issue, he's 100%. You know, we watch Am I Racist? You can still see that over on my BitChute channel. Link is in the description. You go to the BitChute channel and watch it unpaywalled. It's still there. So you can go watch that movie. It's a really good take. It exposes the bullshit of the race baiting industry, right? And Jeremy does good stuff too. He does good stuff too. He breaks news a lot. And he has some good takes on some things that I like. So that's why I still would watch both these creators, and I still will highlight both these creators when they're doing good work.
He's out there doing the work, which has to be respected. You know, I'm just, you know, me and the Daily Wire have our stuff, whatever, occasionally.
There you go.
But they're out there doing work, and all the other people that are there too.
it's disgusting. It's evil. Now, third, finally, with all that said, I actually agree with the premise, sort of. This case is about the rights of children. It's about the right of a child to be protected from the gender butchers. That's what it's about. Children have the constitutional right, the human right, the God-given right to live and grow and learn about themselves and the world without being indoctrinated and exploited by people who reject the fundamental realities of existence.
Yes.
Children have a right to go through phases, to have moments of confusion and discomfort in their own bodies, just like every generation of children before them, without that confusion being seized upon as a pretense to do irreparable harm to their bodies. So to the trans activists over there claiming this is all about the rights of children, I say again, yes, you're right, it is.
Yeah, they have a right to not have their psycho parents who want more, you know, internet points and internet clout to, you know, get involved and change their bodies forever. Now, some of the latest updates are Justice Alito. Now, Tennessee has begun its defense just a few moments ago. After 2 hours of arguments against the law, Tennessee Solicitor General Matthew Rice has begun arguments in favor of the law. Rice began saying that the law was enacted to protect kids, and it is. It is, you know, you see here, obviously a few moments ago, the ACLU forced to admit that people do, in fact, regret transgender medical procedures. Now, I'm sure there are some that don't, but that's the argument is, I don't care if you want to do this stuff to your body when you're 18. I wish you wouldn't. I wish you would think through it, but once you're 18, you're an adult, in my opinion. Not only should you be able to do this stuff, but you should be able to rent cars. You should be able to drink. You should be able to do everything. If you can go fight and die for your country at 18, then you should have every single right available to everyone else.
That's right.
It's stupid. It's idiotic that we have any of this stuff. You know, it's insane that we would allow any of, 2, 3, 4 tier system in rights in this country. But that's, for a different video. Alito has pushed the ACLU on questionable self-preservation claims. So the biggest claim for like allowing people to do these surgeries is that it saves their lives.
No.
Evil doctors will say, do you want a trans kid or a dead kid? And then parents get bullied into doing it. And then they became a customer of the healthcare system for their
That's
entire
ridiculous.
lives.
You can't.
So
predict
Alito
that.
pushed back on
You
us.
can't predict that. You can't say that. You can't predict. That's malpractice. That is malpractice to put it on a parent who's in this situation, whether it's by their own doing or not. Right, letting their kids be indoctrinated or remember, I covered this. There's a lot of in fact, in my one of my early videos called "The Groom Doctrinators." Right, I didn't say it, but I typed it out at the end of the video. It's done to a unredded rant. A lot of imagery. It's very bad. It's very bad. It's a very poor video quality wise, but actually, it's not too bad. But at the end of it, I said, yeah, a lot of times the groomers, the worst groomers are the moms in the house that want the clout, that are pushing their kids. They're allowing their kids to dress this way. They're pushing them towards it. They're allowing them to be ambiguous, and that's the groomer in the house, right? But even that, when you got doctors that are helping to manipulate the situation as well, and guess what? They're the ones who get paid to do it, right? They're the ones who are getting paid to do it. They make the money in the end, and they should not be able to lawfully say something like you want a dead kid or a trans kid, because that is manipulation, and it should be malpractice, and they should be sued out of their job and have their license revoked, and they should be done and never be able to go near another child again.
Assertions that these procedures prevent children from ending their own lives. He asked Strangio if she maintained that medications in question reduce the risk. She claimed that it was, quote, clearly established in the science.
That's right, Roscoe. 100%, Roscoe. 100%.
To reduce the risk. Alito pointed to research in the CAS review, which is perfect, that it says there is, in fact, no evidence that, quote, gender-affirming treatments actually reduce these people's self-deletion rates. She replied by saying, there's no evidence in the studies that this treatment reduces completed attempts on their lives. Like, what?
What?
Literally what? So, again, you have all sorts of nonsense going on. By the way, so here we have an exchange, unfathomably based. So this guy's got a sign that says no child is trans. And then you have, yet another white liberal woman who is apparently in support of it. He calls her the P word, which is hilarious because he accurately points out, this individual accurately points out. Based.
Look at that weirdo.
Based. Based. I did share it. Based.
Yeah, get her.
Why would you mutilate a child? I'm a lesbian. For your own genetics.
Exactly.
Based.
Right there.
For your own genetics.
100%. 100%. 100%. You know what I mean? 100%. It is a weird fetish. Trans activists have gathered outside the Supreme Court. Every one of these people, why are you so worried about what, kids are doing to their bodies?
Right?
If you want to do this kind of thing when you're 18, I can't push back against you. I can't,
we're not here to protect 18-year-olds. We're here to protect children, And that's the way it is. It's the legal age, 18. You're on your own. Now you make your own decisions. You're legally responsible for everything that you do. Welcome to the adult world. All right, you got it. You made it. But no, we're here to protect the innocent, to protect children. That's what we're doing right now. And yeah, he makes a great point. And I've always said it. What is this fascination with people, about what they can do to other people's kids? Like, just either have your own kids and worry about that, or get out of the way. And yeah.
I can't say anything because you're an adult. But all we want to do is say, hey, maybe parents don't have your best interest in mind. If they're doing the stuff, maybe they're not looking out for you.
Or maybe they have a mental condition that's been brought on by the subversion in our society. And as Roscoe pointed out earlier, the the Marxist indoctrination, like the critical theory, the critical gender theory indoctrination that's been going on. That's mind control. That is subversion, right? And that is an attack. That is an abuse in itself. So maybe they're suffering from a mental condition due to this infiltration of these toxic, negative, dark, evil ideas.
Healthcare bans are discrimination. It's not healthcare. I would argue it's literally the exact opposite of healthcare. If you're having these, youths permanently damaging their bodies for their entire life, I would not say that is healthcare.
Yeah, you talk about some people that are going to go off later in life when they realize they've been screwed over and screwed out of an entire lifetime of health and functionality, right? These kids who grow up and suddenly snap out of it and go, holy shit. I mean, they're lining up. They're going to form their own community, there's going to be so many of them, right? And then they're going to have support groups, and those support groups are going to form bigger and bigger communities of trans regretters. The trans regretters are going to be a dangerous group to deal with. They're going to be a dangerous group to deal with on many different levels. On a legal level, right? On a legal level, they're going to sue the bejeebies out of their parents and out of schools and out of the government and out of doctors and all kinds of places. The insurance is going to go through the roof. If you want to be a lawyer, you should go into the trans regretter law, right? And help these kids sue the frick out of the people who manipulated them and mutilating themselves for life, right? Because now they're going to wake up and be like, dang, I've just screwed everything up, and I don't even like this. I wanted to be what I was born as, right? Now it is, but I had, they're going to hate their parents. Families are going to break up over this. And all these parents are going to be like, we did all this stuff for you to help you. Like, but no, it's the teachers. It was the television. It was the entertainment. It was the government. It was all these people that were manipulating me from the time I was born. Like all the other ways they've done it to kids, right? Medicines and disorders and all this other crap. Maybe it's the food, the poison in the food, the poison in the water, whatever kind of tweaked them out, right? And then when they had a little bit of an episode, what'd you do? You put pills down their throat, right? And now that's messed with their head. Dude, that community is going to blow the hell up one day, and it's coming fast. It's coming. These kids are growing up, and the trans regretters are going to be dangerous. Some of them are going to deal with having to go through the law, right? They're going to take the law into their own hands. There's going to be a lot of that going on. Trust me. And it'll be very precise, right? It'll be very precise. It won't be a lashing out against society. It'll be a lashing out against the people who did it to them. So people who are doing that to your kids and doing it to other people's kids, you better realize that, you better realize that your what you think is a good deed may not go unreturned, right? Hell indoctrination. There's that, right? The normalization of something that's not normal, something that's harmful, right? Yeah, that's what it is. The newest female SCOTUS judge, the one that was jammed in there, that was literally a conspiracy to put this woman on the bench. I talked about this with the Social Democrats, right? The redheaded, what's her name? The press secretary and the other guy that came in with Biden were there specifically to get this John G. Brown on the Supreme Court. They've been working on it for a long time. Believe me. You can go follow that rabbit hole down. You'll see they all work for the same place. Keep saying it was about being loving. Loving kids is showing through protection, not exploitation. They're exploiting them. They're not loving them, right? This is the one that when she was being tried out for when she was being confirmed, right? She couldn't tell you the definition of a woman. She never should have been confirmed, right? Yeah, you love the kids by protecting their childhoods and their innocence. That's how you love them. Genital mutilation and cadaveroids does not make a man, woman, or hermaphrodite. It makes a mutilated human being in an imprisoned spirit. Real well said. Well said. It makes everybody mad, but look, we're fighting it. Look, we're making progress, right? We're making progress, and we got good base people in on the fight. There are studies that have been suppressed, which proves it's not medically necessary, and that it's ideation and psychological or grooming. That is ideation and psychologically or grooming. Yeah, I hope I said that right. Tucker Carlson had a great story about this before he was pulled from Fox. I enjoy the series, and honestly, this was me. This was where my eyes were opened. Wow. Well, hell yeah, man. Welcome to the fight. You're definitely got a base, and you got a good take on things. And you seem to see the world clearly and what's going on. So you're in the right place, Roscoe. I hope to see a lot more of you. Yep, there's Lamb's Grace right there. Hollywood indoctrination. Yeah, it crushes. It's hard to deal with. Like I said, sometimes when I'm covering things like this, like I said earlier tonight, I stop and be like, I can't believe I'm actually talking about this stuff. How is this going on? How is it going on? I don't even know. Man. It's so crazy. Remember when there was outrage over Islamic female mutilation? Then this crap gets pushed on our kids, and it's fine. This is fine. As the freaking house burns down. This fire is fine. You know. Oh man, when I worked at upstate New York, I worked with felons and transies, transies. The trans were adults, but it was a very weird story between this couple.
And wow, trans rights so white. Why is it all white women? Why is there a kid there, by the way? What parent brought their kids? Degeneracy. Oh, nice mask. Look at all these white liberal women. I'm telling you that their opinions on society are almost always exclusively wrong. I hope that the Supreme Court affirms Tennessee's decision to
power. Is it just a power thing? Is it some kind of like? Is it just some kind of fourth, fifth, sixth? I don't know what wave of feminism were we on. Is it some kind of feminist thing that where they think that they're just whatever opposition, some kind of like critical sexist theory or something, right? Where it's oppressor, so they always go with what they view as the oppressed, right? As some kind of power move. Look how many ad credits Jeremy has over here on this side. I just noticed this. $1,135. Spend it, Jeremy.
Protect kids from insane parents. And I sincerely hope that Matt Walsh and others will be keeping a close eye on this.
Matt Walsh posted this on X today, quoting here, "This is the culmination of our fight against the barbarism."
Yeah. I mean, he brought it up in Vanderbilt.
One, do you agree? I know you'll be outside the Supreme Court tomorrow, Mary Margaret. Do you agree with what Matt Walsh just said there?
Well, good evening, Trace. And yes, I absolutely agree with what Walsh is saying here. You know, Walsh launched an investigation into Vanderbilt Medical University a couple years ago.
Yep.
And that investigation exposed how Tennessee doctors and activists were pushing these transgender procedures on children. A lot of people are saying that inspired these lawmakers to launch this legislation that has led ultimately to this Supreme Court case. So definitely something that we're really interested in watching very closely at the Daily Wire. But this is a case that could ultimately lead to the Supreme Court defending children all across the country. And a really, really vastly important medical decision for many, many Americans.
Yeah. I mean, again, you want to do this kind of stuff when you're an adult. I might think you're goofy, but you have every right to do that. This is about protecting kids, and anyone who disagrees probably has some questions to answer. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. We'll talk to you again real soon. Winning helped make everything better.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. That was really nice of you to say. I helped make it better. All right. So that was awesome. Good job, Jeremy. Thumbs up on that one. And guys, it's good to know the fight is on for what is right, and that we apparently seem to be winning. Jacob Castro over on the Rumble side holding it down. It's societal psychopathy, the result of punishing good and responsible and rewarding bad and irresponsible. Yeah, exactly. Subversion, division, destabilization, demoralization, and that's all wrapped into that. 100%. Roscoe, the suicide rate is high because of the parents, in my opinion. The adults are the ones confusing the kids. Yes, Ronnie, absolutely. Absolutely. And they are being confused themselves, or they're just already complete narcissistic psychos, like you said. I mean, it's just like, generational subversion, demoralization. Only very few will snap out of that. Very few will come around. We pray for moments of clarity. that will guide them out of the darkness and into the light. That's all we can do for those folks. But we can stop their harm they're doing. We can by protecting the innocent when they won't, right? And I would hope the parents would come together and realize that they need to put their kids in their kids' lives first and not listen to these outside sources trying to tell them. Of course, there are some people that shouldn't have kids that do, and there are some people that only see kids as ornaments and as extension of themselves in a very narcissistic way. And so that's how they treat them. They treat them as property. They treat them as an ornament. And this is probably the kids that are the ones that are being suffered and pushed into this lifestyle. Then you have the cuck dads, the cuck beta dads that are going along with it instead of standing up and being like, hell no. There are some strong alpha dads out there that are willing to go to the extremes to protect their kids, and they're willing to face jail time. And in a lot of cases, they have to pull their kids away from them. Not just in this country, but in other countries around the world. The UK is having a hard time with this as well. There are other places, Canada, other places where women are off the hinges, and the dad's trying to do something about it, and he's being punished. Or, I never heard of a vice versa situation. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to come down on women or anything like that. I'm just saying that there seems to be a pattern here, and that there's I've only heard about dads being the ones being like, you're going to jail because you won't recognize, or you won't help them transition, or you won't do this, you won't do that. And it's always being brought on by the mom. So I don't know what's going on with that. I can just tell you I haven't seen any inverse stories. I'm open to hearing them. And if I happen to find one, I'll bring it up. Here's a mom that tried to protect her kid from the dad. I would find that extremely interesting, actually. But yeah, there's some kind of mind control that's going on in the female community that's pushing a lot of women into this idealization of it. And I think maybe some of it has to do with the ornamentation of children. To thinking of children as an accessory, as a ornamentation to them, as some kind of like status symbol for them, so they can call themselves a mom, but they don't really act like one, right? When they're always just like pulling the kid around with them to whatever they want to do, instead of like, being involved in the kid's life. And when it comes to the kid's life, they're second place. There are people like that are not taking on the responsibilities correctly, or maybe they had kids when they shouldn't have had kids, or maybe they had them too young. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm out of my ballpark here, but I'm just saying that we need to do something to help the kids when they're in a bad situation. And we already try to do that. If it's abuse, we try to do it, right? If it's poverty, we try to do it. If it's a bad living situation, we already try to do it. So this is no different. I don't see this as any different than trying to pull a kid out of a bad situation, whatever that may be, abusive situation. It's abuse. That's all it is. That's all. And that's all I got to say about that. All right. Before I spin around in circles. Accessories, yeah. See, Charles that Theron adopted 2 black male kids and turned them both trans. Who's that? Who's Charles Theron? Charlesy? I don't know how you say that. Charles. I don't trust the public school system. Nope, you shouldn't. Unfortunately, my great nieces are going to public school. I know it sucks, but you know what? Hopefully, we can turn it around before it gets too bad. And we really have to focus on that. Honestly, it's generational warfare, and they always go after the youngest generation. But that's where we stop it there, and in two or three, like in about 30 to 45 years, we'll wipe it out if we started today, right? Because it takes 15 years per generation. So if we start today, if we start with this term, right, and we start, I hope I inspire somebody. I hope somebody inspires people, somebody else. I hope a lot of people inspire a lot of people to get out there and start implementing real education and pulling this crap out of there. I think Trump's going to try to do it first with getting the critical theory out of there. We have to remove the enablement for the groomers in schools to not want to be there. That means taking away their unsupervised access and their government protection. We take that away from them, they won't be there anymore. They'll leave because what they're there to do will be ineffective. And when it's ineffective, you remove the enablement for them to be there. They don't want to be there because it's not going to satisfy what they're after, right? They'll try something else, But when they can't get your kids alone and indoctrinate them and put rainbow flags on the wall and turn the whole class into trans kids, they'll leave. Right? When they can't groom kids, they'll leave. When they get arrested on the spot, when they try to do that shit, they'll leave. They'll be like, "Oh my God, teaching is not what I want to do anymore." Yeah, and other teachers that are thinking about going into it for that reason won't. We got to get the school boards cleaned out. We got to get all these people that think like this off the school boards. They're there for a reason. They're there to hurt children. They think they're why are some of these people even on school boards? They either don't have kids or they don't have kids in the district, yet they're on the school board. Why? For power? They got an agenda. If you're not there to help support your kid through school and help to make sure they have the best experience possible and that they're safe and secure at their schools, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? Is it pay that much to be on the school board? Is that like $1 million job or something? I don't understand how these people that don't have any skin in the game are on these school boards. They seem to always be the ones that are causing the problems. There's a root cause issue right there. We can take care of ourselves. We don't need the government to do that. We just have to get involved. We just have to go to school board meetings. We have to inspire other parents that are strong and that are smart to get involved. Right? We have to install better security systems in our schools that can weed out the grooming that's going on. We have to take down the banner flying. Right? The only banner that should be flying inside of a school building is the school flag and the state flag. That's it. I don't want to see a UN flag in there either. I don't want to see a UN flag in there. This isn't the UN here. I don't want to see pride flags. I don't want to see BLM flags. I don't want to see any flags outside of the good old stars and stripes and your state flag. That's the only thing that should be hanging in public schools, period. No discussion about it. It's just, that's the way it is. You put anything else on there, you're claiming space. Flags are meant to claim land, right? We went to the moon, we put an American flag on it, didn't we? Right? When a ship was taken over, you flew the flag of the person who took over the ship. Flags have meanings. We have to stop pretending like they don't. It's not support. It's presence. It's ownership. We have to remember what the flags are meant to be historically and use them correctly. See, I've seen cases of women trying to protect the children or both parents trying to protect their kids. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and then you got the schools, and you got the weirdos at the schools, the weirdos in the government, or social workers that are coming after them. Megan Fox turned all her kids trans. Who's Megan Fox? Which one's that? There's many Megan Foxes, right? Lamb, I was a teacher in K, never trust the schools ever. Yeah, there you go. See, that's the same one. Which one? The chick from Monsters. Charlize. I don't know who that is either. A school in Ohio is allowing Satanism to be taught. No, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's Satanism taught in schools. There we go. There's another infiltration, another subversion, another demoralization practice that needs to be taken out of our schools. There's no reason. We're not teaching religion in schools. People should be able to not be condemned for their religions in schools. But no, that's not what they're supposed to be there for. They're supposed to be getting an education that's going to prepare you for life, right? And it needs to be a good education, and we don't have that these days. We need to do so much repair work on our, either that or stop sending kids to public schools. And I think I'm good with both. My kids never stepped foot in a public school, not as a student at least, and he never will. And he's doing great. He's thriving. He's doing great. You wanna freak a teacher out? Record her teaching. I've seen college teachers freak out. That's what I'm saying. Every classroom needs to have parent supervised CCTV and microphones in there. And when that all-seeing eye is looking at them, that unblinking eye, I should say, unblinking eye is staring at them and recording everything that they say, right? And we're watching all the little things, and there's a parent on the other end of it. Guess what? The groomers won't want to be there. You'll remove the one thing they need to groom your kids or indoctrinate your kids. That's what I say, the groom doctrinators. That's what I called them, the groom doctrinators. That if you remove that, they don't have the one thing they need to be successful, and that's unsupervised access with your kids. My family won't listen to me. They think I'm an extreme conspiracy nut. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know how that goes. The people that are trapped, we call it the first veil. We call it the establishment narrative. People that are trapped in that establishment narrative, they are living in a box. They can't see the walls. They can't see it. That's why I say pray for clarity. Clarity is the only thing that's going to get them through it. A lot of times a massive event, massively traumatic event, sometimes shakes them out of it. You know, when they see FEMA not responding to people or it hits home, that's the moment of clarity. That's when they might be more willing to listen to people they think are crazy, because they're programmed to think that we're crazy because we're not bowing down to the establishment narrative. To them, the establishment narrative is reality, right? But they've lost their reality. We're outside the establishment narrative. We're winning our reality, right? They don't know. They can't see the bars. They can't see the walls. They don't know they're boxed into a narrative. They think that their worldview, which makes it extremely hard to change, their belief system, right, is correct and factual and true. And then anybody that denies that is a nut. And that's what they've been trained to think by that very same narrative that keeps them in prison. Marysville, Ohio, Edgewood Elementary School. We got a lot of work to do. Board of WD members take the position as to step towards a higher political position. Oh, is that what it is? Yes, the American flag. That's right, Snafu. That's right. That means reform NEA, teaching unions, and DEOE. I say go for it. Yeah, Department of Education. If it's going to be there, it needs to be there to implement the type of solution culture that I'm talking about. You know, I don't know where this path is going to lead me, or what it's going to turn me into, or what it's going to turn this channel into, or who I'm going to run into one day that's going to change everything. In terms of getting this message out and taking it forward. I'm just out here putting it out, right? And it may be my only purpose is to inspire one of you to do this, right? I accept all possibilities. You know, if somebody finds me one day and says this guy is on it, I want to get to know him, I want to offer him an opportunity, I'm going to listen. You know, if it checks out, it checks out. You know, I often thought, you know, J. Michael Waller, I talked to him. He goes, you know what? You got a good idea. How would you like to come work for me and implement it? I would be like, yeah, I want to do that. You know, and I would go do that. I'd walk from here to there, and I'd hand this mission off to someone else that can carry it. You know, or they can hopefully inspire someone else to pick up where I left off. But I would go do that if that's what my calling was to be, because I realize that this is a bigger fight. This is bigger than anything, and that this may just be a step along the way, a path right along the way. This may just be a part of the journey to be here winning reality with you guys, and maybe it's just to inspire. Maybe I inspire many people to do things. I hope so. I mean, maybe it's just this is the size my channel is going to be, and this is the way it's going to be from now on. But the inspiration is what reaches out. That's what this is. You know, winning reality is about an idea. I think people like look at the name and look at, you know, YouTube and the situation and think that I want something different out of it. You know, yes, I'd love for the content to reach many more people, many more people. But I'd more rather it reach the right people, right? The one that's it's going to inspire and it's going to help them grow. Protect them from grifts, protect them from, living in the dark or getting pulled into a rabbit hole or a dead end. Some maybe inspire them to do something great in this world, and really make a change, really make a lasting change for the better. And, if that's what it is, that's what it is. I'm accepting to whatever possibilities it is. I'm not there competing with anybody. I'm not trying to be bigger or better or get somewhere faster than anybody else. I think people think that, that's what every YouTuber wants. It's nice. It would be nice if the channel supported me. It would be nice if this channel reached 1 million people every time I turned on the show, and all these people are getting this message and getting inspired by it. But if however it does it, right? Some people, all they do is think of ways to grow their channel and get more people to spend time with them and whatever they're talking about. A lot of times it's nothing, right? And that's their whole, that's the reason they wake up in the morning. And that's the reason they get on and stream, 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever, morning, noon, and night, whatever. That's fine. That's what they're doing. That's not what this is about, though. This is about winning, literally really winning reality, the idea of winning our reality from people who are trying to steal it from us, right? And they've been trying to steal it from us our whole life. And we have a chance now. We have a real chance, and we have a reason to do it. We got a future to worry about. I don't wash my hands of the future. I take it on as a responsibility. I think everybody that comes here thinks the same way. And so that's what winning reality is. Put in the political door, the POW flag and or armed forces flag. Okay, so yeah, you know, I'm as long as it's America and it doesn't stand for some subgroup that has an agenda, right? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. The NEA is so corrupt. Any fights they start with BOE are purely for show or more money. Yes, that's ridiculous. Politicizing the education of children is ridiculous. It's has to stop. Has to stop. I'm sorry, it's about your family calling you extremists. All the people and friends and family we lost to Trump derangement syndrome since 2015. Yep, we've all lost them, lambs. We've all lost them, and it's a shame and it's frustrating. And honestly, I told the story. I'll make it brief, but I started on this journey to try to figure out what the hell was going on with my friends. Why all of a sudden these great, beautiful friends and that I literally was calling family would listen to me about everything and have be there for everything for me. But when it came to all of a sudden me trying to pull them away from the establishment narrative, suddenly there was something they wouldn't listen. Right. Suddenly I didn't know what I was talking about. Suddenly my voice wasn't as important. And then the Trump thing came around and watching them all slide off the hill, and knowing there was no way to stop it. I said long before Trump, I said back in the Ron Paul days, the day was going to come when we were going to have to pick a side. And I already knew what side I was going to pick, the anti-establishment side. And because the establishment that's here is corrupt, the corrupt establishment of power, we must fight it. The corrupt globalist establishment of power in our country, puppeted through the government, the false left right paradigm at the time, right? And I knew that one day the time would come. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I knew the day would come. We would have to choose a side, and I was trying my best to find a way to reach them before that day came. And some of them I did reach, and most of them I didn't. But that's when I found the Yuri Bezmenov content, right? And it opened my eyes about ideological subversion. And I started going down the idea of how does the mind get controlled? What is controlling it? How does it work? Can we stop it? Can we reverse it? These are all things that drove me to research day in and day out, year after year, decade after decade, to try to find the answers. And at the end of it all, I figured out it was a generational warfare, and that the only way to stop it is to remove the enablement of it on a generational basis. We'd have to approach it on a generational level the same way it was implemented. And we'd have to undo everything that makes it work. We'd have to remove the enablement for the mechanisms that control the mind, right? And this is where I came up with my solutions, my solution board. That's what solution culture is about, and that's where we're heading. Now we have the biggest time, the most opportune time ever to actually get it done. And everything we talk about here is about implementing solution culture in one form or another as we learn, as we grow, as we move towards that. I'm talking a lot tonight. I got to get back to these stories here in a second. Yeah, I told you about the Satan thing. Yep, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah, despite it literally being in the title. Effing schools, homeschool, whatever means necessary. Yeah, online school works great. My son's in an online Christian academy. It works great. I'm telling you, it works great. He's got a lot of time. He makes great grades. He's got a lot of times. They teach him good stuff, and no bullshit. No bullshit. Public schools should be ground in a fine powder, says Jacob Castro. I answered the Megan Fox question, but YouTube apparently ate it. It's not the one that everybody knows. Not the lawyer, journalist, whoever it is that everybody knows from the scene here. Memento Mori. Many older people don't want to see the truth. The truth means they have wasted their lives. One doesn't like to believe one's life has been worthless. Yep, that's a belief system. That's a belief system. And that's a worldview. And that's the hardest thing to change. And what's even harder to change is a false belief system, is a false worldview. That's even harder because that's when this thing kicks in. This cognitive dissonance kicks in, and they don't want to see it. That's the truth. That is the truth. All right, where are we at? Okay. So many great questions, so many great comments. I want to read them all. But I'm going to run out of time if I do. It's a hard pill to swallow. You have to, yeah, it is a hard pill to swallow. There's an article about the Satanic Temple curriculum there. If you like to check that out and push back on it, there you have it. So you got lots of great conversations going on here. I'm going to skip down here to the bottom. I'm going to let you guys keep talking about things and stuff, and I'm going to get to the next story. All right. Cash Patel will bring in another great creator who I think is the best. Hold on. Who I think is the best lawyer in the scene to listen to. I think it's probably the only one of the few that are worth listening to. I'll say there's a handful that I like, but this guy is top notch. He's an #1. He's my favorite. The most based guy out there. The guy who's dedicating his time to doing the right thing, to fighting the good fight. His name is Robert Gouveia Esquire. And he's got a great report here. Cash Patel warns lying media about false claims. Let's go.
This step is taken, Mr. Patel will take swift legal action to uphold his rights and his reputation.
I was there at Fresh Kills.
I'm not asking you that.
I'm
asking you,
Congressman.
Were you the special agent in charge?
To show respect
You were not.
for a Secret
That's
Service
a bunch of
member
horse hockey.
that died on 9/11.
That Vice President
You are out of
Harris's
line.
life because you put those agents out of position. Did you have a radio with you?
Mr. Fallon, your time has
Did you have a
expired.
weapon? No. New FBI director appointed by President Trump named Cash Patel said he was not going to play around with the media. If they hit him and defame him and attack his credibility and legitimacy, he'll respond in kind. Well, this woman did just that, and she got a letter from Cash and his attorneys. She wrote this. She's an MSNBC contributor. She posted this, says, I just got a nasty gram from Cash Patel. We'll see what the letter says, and we'll also take a look at what's happening to Cash Patel, who has now been apparently attacked by Iran in a cyber attack. And there's more. A lot of reaction to Cash Patel and others in the government, including this Secret Service acting director, Ronald Rowe, got into it in Congress today. These two absolutely screaming at each other, and it was
Did you guys
to
see
see. So
this?
we've got
This
all
is a-
that coming up, and
Did you guys see this? This is a great exchange, man.
reaction. But we're starting with Cash Patel's nasty gram to Olivia. She said, today, Cash Patel sent a letter to my lawyer threatening legal actions and demanding that I retract my comments on MSNBC about his unfitness to serve as the FBI director. This aligns with his threats against
Good night,
media
Count.
and
Have a good
political
one.
opponents, revealing
Yeah,
how
I should
Cash
do that.
might conduct himself if he's confirmed. I stand by my statements. I'm not retracting anything. My priority remains the safety and the security of the American people. I am not the only one who has expressed concerns about him, so why me? And so it begins. So here's Cash's letter over to her. Wrote the following from his attorney. The Binnell Law Group, December 4th, over to Olivia and Mark, her attorney, calling this a retraction demand and a document hold and preservation demand. Not playing. All right, guess what? Dear Miss Troy, this law firm represents Cashiat Patel. Litigation will be filed against you if you fail to publicly retract defamatory statements that you made about Mr. Patel on MSNBC on December 2nd. Be further advised that you should identify and preserve all hard copy and electronically stored documents, information, and data that relate in any way to Mr. Patel and your statements about him on MSNBC. On December 2nd, you, Olivia, appeared as a live guest on MSNBC and made several false and defamatory statements about Mr. Patel. And these comments include that Mr. Patel would, quote, lie about intelligence. And you say he would, quote, lie about making things up on operations, to the point where Mr. Patel put the lives of Navy SEALs at risk when it came to Nigeria. And you said that Cash Patel was even misinforming Mike Pence. Now, Olivia, this is a complete fabrication. And you know it is false by virtue of your former position in the White House. At no point did Mr. Patel ever lie about national intelligence, place Navy SEALs at risk, or misinform the vice president. Not only did you have actual knowledge of the falsity of this smear, so you know it, but you also did so with the malicious intent of degrading his character and of cynical self-promotion. I'm going on MSNBC tonight. This is, of course, not the first time that you've milked your former title as a means of spreading lies about your associates of President Donald Trump. You've already embroiled yourself in a lawsuit for your disgusting lies about Ambassador Rick Grinnell. So Mr. Patel demands that you retract your lies in a public statement on your exit
Madam
within
Cash.
5
Madam
business
Cash.
days of receipt of this letter. She did not do that. She said she stands by her statements. She's doubling down. I stand by my statements, Cash. So you can just shove it. I stand by it, she says. They say, unless this step is taken, Mr. Patel will take swift legal action to uphold his rights and his reputation. Now, with this letter, you were also on notice of your ongoing obligations to preserve documents related to Mr. Patel. And accordingly, you must ensure that you, your agents, and all sources of information upon you which relied are preserving all of your documents. Facebook, Signal, WhatsApp, Telegram, and more. Audio, visual recordings, and anything that relates in any way to any of these conversations. Without any limitation, this requires you to preserve all all your research and due diligence you conducted, if you did any, and instructed others to conduct relating to Mr. Patel. All right, Olivia. The laws and rules prohibiting destruction of evidence apply to electronically stored information as well. Don't you be deleting your things. This includes backups. Don't delete those either. Now, please confirm receipt of this letter and confirm your intent to retract your statement within 5 business days. And please also confirm you intend to adhere to your obligations to preserve all of these records. Now, this is not a complete recitation of Mr. Patel's rights and remedies, ours right there, all of which are expressly reserved. Sincerely, your friend, Jesse R. Bunnell, coming at you from Bunnell.com. And Kash Patel, not playing around. Now, he's also been attacked, apparently, in a cyber attack by Iran. It wasn't the Russians this time. That's good. At least they brought in a new character this season. That's
Right? Now it's Iran. What the hell?
The FBI recently, the FBI, they told Kash Patel, the Russians are attacking you. So we're going to have to get a FISA warrant for everybody. The exact timing of the cyber attack is unclear, obviously, but it was before Trump named Patel as his choice to head the FBI. The hackers are believed to have targeted some of Patel's communications, or is it the Chinese who hack every single telecom, basically? It's unclear whether they actually access communications. FBI doesn't want to talk about it. So the guy who's going to come replace Christopher Wray, FBI says got hacked by the Iranians. We'll see. Without specifically acknowledging the attack, Trump transition spokesman Alex Pfeiffer said, yeah, Kash was a key part of Trump's first administration. We know 3 Iranians were charged for an Iranian plot. All right, we'll see. So nobody really cares or trusts the FBI at all. Same goes for the Secret Service. Now, this was an interesting exchange today that was fiery. Representative Pat Fallon was there. There was a hearing today on the...
All right. I think most people saw this already, and we saw it on the preview. That's pretty much the highlights of it. They got into a shouting match over this stuff. This is not on topic with what we're talking about here with Kash Patel and the media lying. But if you want to watch the rest of it, go to Robert's channel, check it out. The video is Kash Patel warns lying media about false claims. And we saw most of the highlights at the beginning of the video. So I don't think we need to go any further with this one for time's sake. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's that for that. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Robert. You do great work, and I appreciate what you do. All right, so I want to talk about real quick. Just hit like a 1, 2, 3. Let's see. I feel like some of these are duplicates. Okay, let's do that, and that. Let's quickly go through some of the statements made. Let's start with this one. And I think, yeah, we'll just do these. Musk and Ramaswamy pitched spending advisory board to lawmakers on Capitol Hill. So I did a breaking news video recently about the press conference that was held regarding the Department of Government Efficiency. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and others met to brainstorm, to pitch ideas to Congress up on Capitol Hill, or the Senate, or whoever, the government. And it went really well. It went really well. And before we do that, I got to do this. Excellent stream win. Much needed info to light up the dark. Thank you so much for that. And you know, we have fun. We have fun. We're not all stuffy and at all here. So we just want a better place for we want a free, liberty-minded country where we can just enjoy being people again. Right? Just enjoy being people again, with our kids being raised in a safe world, free of subversion, free of abuse. That's all we want. That's all. All right. Let me go to the next one here. And thank you for that, Shelley.
Welcome to Meet the Press Now in Washington.
Hold on, wait, hold on. I love this girl's name. Make sure it's on winning speed. It is. Okay. So here we go. This is just some quick hits on this. Let's just get some updates.
Welcome to Meet the Press Now. I'm Ali Vitale in Washington.
Ali Vitale.
As the president-elect's government efficiency team of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy spent the day on Capitol Hill. Musk had one of his children in tow as the two entrepreneurs pitched lawmakers on their new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and its massive push for reforms and sweeping cuts to government spending and personnel. Now, to be clear, DOGE is not a new government agency. It has no statutory authority, but if its recommendations are able to win over enough members of Congress or the president himself, its work could make some serious waves in Washington. Musk and Ramaswamy have already laid out some ambitious goals for DOGE. like finding ways to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget, massive cuts for the federal workforce, and the elimination of independent agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Republican senators emerged from their meetings with open minds, saying they're receptive to the initial ideas floated by Musk and Ramaswamy today.
I think there's a lot of excitement, and he's very knowledgeable and open to suggestions. He came to listen, and I came to listen, so it was a good session.
I think we're just exchanging ideas right now, and you've got a group of reform-minded people. So I'm excited about the opportunities that lie ahead.
This is the very beginning of a process that, if we do it right, will be ongoing. So now we're just talking about the art of the possible, kind of the metes and bounds of things that we can do quickly, things that will take a longer time, require enabling legislation. But it was a good discussion.
And on the House side, Speaker Mike Johnson appeared equally eager to work with the DOJ Commission.
This is a brainstorming session. It is the first, again, as I said, of a long series of meetings that will be held as we're laying the groundwork for the new year and the new Congress. And you're going to see a lot of change around here and in Washington and the way things are run.
But there's some serious skepticism surrounding DOJ's work. Will members of Congress be as positive about spending cuts if they impact their own districts? Is any major piece of legislation going to be able to get through this closely
Well, that'll be exposing them pretty damn good, huh?
divided Congress? And there are serious conflict of interest issues at stake as well, as Elon Musk's companies rake in billions of dollars in federal contracts. But DOJ isn't just looking to Congress. My CNBC colleague Eamon Javers sat down with Vivek.
Federal contracts in terms of space exploration because he's better than NASA.
Ramaswamy yesterday, part of CNBC's CFO Council Summit, and Ramaswamy made it clear that he's hoping the president-elect will act on DOJ's recommendations if Congress doesn't listen.
I think that there is an environment where people who are in Congress now, including those who have been elected, but also many who have been fighting this fight for a long time, feel like now is the moment where they've been given the ability to do what they haven't really had the license to do in the past.
Until it comes to their district.
But that being said, I think that ignores what can be done through the executive branch already. The executive branch has no obligation to send out a payment if it is wasteful or if it is known to be fraudulent or has a reason to believe that there is error associated with that payment.
Joining me now, my colleague on Capitol Hill, Ryan Nobles, who's waiting outside of that
I don't know
House
who any of these guys are. So they could come out and be total supporters or total jackasses. Let's see.
meeting. NBC's Garrett Hake covering all things Trump transition, and CNBC senior Washington correspondent Eamon Javers.
I'm thinking Eamon might shit the bed.
Ryan, we'll start with you. This is the first time we've seen the DOJ Commission on the Hill. I know Republicans are bought in, but to what
Any bets on who's going to suck here?
degree is this a one-sided effort? Because I know a handful of Democrats who are interested too.
Yeah, well, the first answer to that question, Ali, is that this is a room in which Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are entertaining a brainstorming session, and there's not a single Democrat in that room, despite the fact that several Democrats have raised their hand and said that they'd like to be a part of these DOJ caucuses in both the House and the Senate, and some have even said that they'd wish that they'd gotten an invite to this meeting. So it's not up to
I bet they did. I bet you just didn't show up.
A good start in terms of the bipartisan nature of all of this. But that doesn't mean that at some point along the way, they might try and include Democrats. And there
anybody believe this?
There are plenty of Democrats on Capitol Hill who agree with Republicans that federal spending is out of control.
I'm pretty sure, but even old communist Bernie Sanders said he wanted something. But you never can trust a commie, though. I mean, Bernie Sanders wanted in on the audit the Fed bill, and then as soon as Ron Paul left office, he was supposed to push it through for the team, and he went and tried to change it. So, yeah,
control, and that there needs to be reform. But as what always happens when you get into a conversation about spending in Washington, everyone loves the idea of cutting spending, but then when you actually put those spending cuts next to actual real policy, then all of a sudden the conversation changes. For instance, yesterday Bernie Sanders said he'd be all in favor of massive cuts to the Pentagon's budget. Well, there's probably a lot of Republicans in that room that probably don't feel the same way. So
I don't know about that. Again, he's going back to neocon days. This is what the mainstream media always does. This guy's from NBC, and I'm probably going to cut this one because I want to get. I don't have time to go through all these idiots' takes. Is there any more interviews here? Is it worth it? Nah. Okay. We're gonna cut on out of this right here. Wait, hold on. I see Vivek, so I'm gonna go to. I'm just gonna cut ahead to Vivek, and we're just gonna listen to the base take. But yeah, you know, he's not gonna acknowledge the false left right paradigm because he thrived in his, at least his company did, and he probably is not even educated enough to understand that that there was a whole set of fake Republicans running the Republican Party for decades. And that their whole role was to be the heels in a game of deception. So he said some Republicans in there might not like cutting the Pentagon. Now he could be meaning like, you know, the see, it's just confusing. It's an uneducated take. It could mean like, okay, there's peace through strength, right? And that's a Trump position. At the same time, there's also war, which is not a Trump position. So when you say some Republicans might not want to cut things to the Pentagon, depends on what you're talking about, isn't it? So he's not going to elaborate on that. He leaves it kind of ambiguous, and then your mind just goes to war. So that's what it is. So let's just jump ahead and listen to the guy who knows what he's talking about.
Always have a skeptical lens to look at what are their motivations for making that recommendation. I say that's the best advice I'd give the public always. Be skeptical when somebody's making a recommendation. That being said, apply that standard 360 degrees. What do we have today? You have regulators who are regularly joining the industry. Is that they regulated? Is that a conflict of interest when they were making that decision as a regulator? Absolutely.
Slash the DOD. I think we're going to do it. So okay. So enough of you. Not me. Him. All right. Let's go. All right. So on to our next one. I wanted to get Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going to say something really quick. She's going to come clicking out here in her heels. Very, very assertive. And she's got a few things to say.
I do not have I thought the meeting went fantastic. It was exactly what we were looking for, a question and answer session with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They were gracious with their time. Many of the members, pretty much almost all of them, lined up at 3 mics and went through the process of expressing their concerns, their frustrations, also talking about bills that they have sponsored and their ideas of how we can truly tackle this massive deficit, cut spending, and lower inflation.
What was the number one concern expressed in there?
The biggest concern is our debt. And as a country, it doesn't matter where you fall on the political divide. This debt is going to crush every single one of us. And to quote Elon, he said something extremely important. Every single payment that the federal government pays out, we need to be checking those payments to see if they're legitimate. And that's something that hasn't been done. I don't know if it's ever been done. There's a massive amount of waste, fraud, and abuse that we have to tackle, and I will be doing that with my subcommittee, and I am looking forward to exposing every single unelected bureaucrat, every single agency that is wasting the American people's money, and the big government departments that need to be exposed for how they're not serving the American people.
Was there a call to cut $2 trillion in spending by 2026?
We didn't mention an exact number. All we talked about was cutting spending. Elon and Vivek talked about having a naughty list and a nice list.
Check it twice.
For members of Congress and senators and how we vote and how we're spending the American people's money. I think that would be fantastic. But one thing is for sure, if we can cut spending, we'll be lowering inflation, and that'll be good for everyone.
When do you start work on your subcommittee? When does that kind of start?
Well, as we all know, the next Congress will convene on January 3rd. It'll take a few weeks to do the order of business, setting up committees and subcommittees, and then we'll be getting ready to roll towards the end of January.
Did Musk say that he would expose and shame Republicans for not cutting spending? I know that Chip Roy said that he had proposed that and Musk had agreed with him. Did he agree with him?
Elon said that there will be, he said, a good list and a naughty list. They also have great ideas
He's
that
making
they'll
a
be working on with DOJ. Now, this will be separate from Congress. They're talking about
Let's find out
communicating
who's
with the
naughty and
American
nice.
people, perhaps maybe even a weekly podcast or a report, so to speak. They want to bring in members of Congress and senators and let the American people hear from them about their ideas and the programs that they're trying to work on, bills they're trying to pass. But the biggest, most important thing that Elon wants to bring forward for the American people is information. His big concern that he talked about today is how many Americans don't even know that we have a deficit or a debt of $36 trillion. And he feels like
That'd
if
be
we
quite a
can
lot.
educate the American people, getting the American people on board, it puts the right
They're trying to-
pressure where it belongs.
Or they tried to say, oh, the reason why is because people like Elon don't pay their fair share when he's paid more taxes than anyone in history. It's like,
on the House and the Senate to do this job correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. All right. That was her soundbite now. What's this one about? Is it the same thing?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
It's more one-off right here. And we're going to move on. Listen, I'm walking very fast.
With Republicans from the Senate and the House.
Speaker, can you come here, please?
No, I can't. I'm late for a portrait unveiling. I cannot miss that. But they're finishing up the last few comments. There'll be a lot more that's expressed in the days ahead. I doubt that Elon and Vivek are going to give any comments today because we're in the early process of this. But stay tuned for more to come.
All right. I think, okay, so we already saw Marjorie. Let me skip this. Well, that's all it was. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. I could have just played this one. Anyways, there you have it. A wrap up from Doge. The Doge. Okay, we're coming up on 3. Man, we've covered a lot of good stuff tonight. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, Cabinet Watch. We had some Cabinet Watch stuff. Okay, so one thing I wanted to cover here. One, I'll just read this off. I'm gonna kind of fast forward a little bit. But I did want to let you know that RFK Jr. asked Fresno County raw milk producer to apply as FDA advisor. That's one thing. So RFK Jr. is going to be getting a lot of attention here on the channel, and for as long as for the next 4 years, I guess, as long as the channel's here. Because what he's doing, his work is so important. It's one of my pet peeve topics. I've been fighting the fight to get clean real food and clean real water, clean water for a decade and a half now. It's so important. We're being poisoned at all levels. We get the fluoride out of the water. We gotta get the GMOs and the pesticides out of our crops. We got to get the chemicals out of our food. And all the other bullshit games they're playing with our health, right? I'm so behind RFK Jr. and what he's doing in this whole initiative that he's going to be getting a lot of attention. So, anyways, that's something to note, that he's trying to bring in Fresno County raw milk producer to apply as FDA advisor. He's encouraging Mark McCaffrey to apply as an advisor for an advisory role at the Food and Drug Administration, as McCaffrey confirmed on Thursday. McCaffrey's raw farm in Fresno County is developing standards for selling safe raw milk, as Kennedy has been a long-time customer. Okay, so there you go. That's that guy. And he is the CEO and founder of Fresno County Dairy. So that's very encouraging. Trump names Caleb Vitelio as acting director of ICE. Okay, Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Caleb previously served as an assistant director of the Office of Firearms and Tactical Programs in ICE. So he's got experience. And then there you go. President-elect Donald Trump on Thursday picked 2 men with deep immigration enforcement experience as his nominees to run the 2 key enforcement agencies that handle border and deportation. Who's the other guy? I don't see the other guy's name. Oh, Chad Chronister. Oh no, never mind. Okay. This is the other one I'm gonna pull up next, so I'll save that. And I wanted to say that Trump did reference the Hunter Biden pardon as a in hush money case dismissal bid. President, I should be showing this. I'm going a little too fast, and I'm acting like I don't need to show this stuff. Okay, there we go. President-elect Donald Trump legal team referenced President Joe Biden's recent pardon of his son, his felonious corrupt son Hunter, when filing their motion to dismiss Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's hush money case. Trump was convicted on 34 counts, wrongly convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records in connection with the 2016 hush money payments that his then attorney Michael Cohen totally manufactured that made to Stormy Daniels. Trump has denied wrongdoings and maintained that the case was part of a broader political witch hunt, which he's exactly right about. The Tuesday filing quoted the outgoing commander-in-chief saying, "President Biden put it yesterday, enough is enough." Throwing it back in his face. That's that way to go, dude. Way to go, dude. Yeah, there that is right there. See, I went over that earlier. Okay, this is the blind spot. I think we covered most of this in the blind spot. Oh, this is tough news. Hawk Tuah girl faces backlash and new cryptocurrency loses 90% of value. That's just stupid. That story is so dumb. I wouldn't even bother you with it. Girl who gets fame over degenerate reason falls on her face and shows her ass. What a surprise. Okay, and I think that was it for that. Let me pivot over back to this other one. And this is the one I wanted you guys to hear about. Trump removes we're not going to get through the whole thing, but I just want to kind of highlight that Trump is listening. I know some of the picks people have had some concerns about. They don't quite understand them. And but we're trying to trust that he knows what he's doing this time and that he's listening, and that if it comes down to it, he will pull them out. And we may see that the Surgeon General lady fall into the same category as this right here. Take it away, Timmy.
Recently, we got news that Donald Trump had chosen a man for his DEA pick who had arrested a pastor during COVID for trying to host religious services. This resulted in a major backlash. Ultimately, the man resigned the nomination. And we have more information about exactly what happened. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just say, we have won. I take very, very serious issue with this guy, Chad Chronister, how he arrested a pastor and what that means for someone who's going to be put anywhere in government. I believe this man should go to prison. I have very little sympathy. I am done. But Donald Trump is now stating, or I should say the news is reporting, and there are, I believe, some statements from Trump, that the issue is specifically about Trump heard this guy had arrested a pastor and was like, that's not negotiable. No, sorry.
See, guys, have faith. Have faith. Have faith.
Time to go. And then went to him and basically said, it's time to leave. If it were not for the pressure campaign from individuals on social media highlighting this is a bad pick, this guy would have been in the DEA. So I want to say this of Donald Trump as well, because Jen Kuger recently tweeted, and he mentioned on the show, that he posted that he thought Trump supporters are not going to let Trump get away with whatever he wants. And he is correct. So when Trump tried making a bad guy the head of the DEA, we said no. We said no. But let me tell you about what it means to be a good person and what it means to be a bad person like this guy, Chad, and why he ends up losing his nomination. And he should be in prison. This is a man who during lockdowns said, I'm just doing my job. We have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble and practice our religion and speech and press and all of those things. I will not tolerate individuals who say your constitutional rights have been overridden by a separate emergency declaration. That is evil. And that this man was stopped is a good thing. So let's read this story, my friends. But before we...
All right. So I think we get the gist of that, right? I'm not gonna go on. If you want to listen to the rest of it, it's called Trump Removes DEA Pig Who Arrested Pastor Over COVID Lockdown, an Epic Win for Populist Movement. Great title to me. Anyways, I'm not gonna let that whole thing go along. But if you want to listen to Tim read it and give you his opinion on it, that's cool. I just wanted to go with the headlines on that because I felt like it's important to know that Trump is listening. We do have a voice. All right. And that, I know there was some we had a big backlash over the Surgeon General. We spent some time talking about it here. And I understand that. And like I said, I'm willing to, in some cases, to bend and to wait and to see and to remember that Donald Trump can always say, "You fired," right? But in other cases like this one, where it's just a clear violation, someone who's just going to go along, and you don't know how compromised they are. In this case, purely had the ability to make his own decision and didn't, but then said, "I'm just following orders." I think Trump did the right thing, and he knew him or didn't know him well enough to know that maybe there was a problem there. So he took the initiative. He removed him. So let's be thankful for that, and let's give Trump credit where credit's due. And just remember, you have a voice. You have a voice. Let's see. Okay, that we don't need to cover that. I think we got that done. That done. Some of this is going to be good news of the week, and some of this is going to be other things. So just a reminder, guys, as we're going to wrap it up right now. Man, I had this great thing on China, and I may say that for good news too. China and ruined nation. Chinese people are destroying everything on purpose. I got to save that. I'll save that for later. That's not a rush story. Anyways, Saturday night, winning Saturday night, this Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. It will be myself and Talking Trash and Juice. That's Shelly. Right there. See her drinking her coffee with her kitty cat. She's going to be with me. And we're going to do good news of the week, cool things, and funny videos together on this winning Saturday night. And we'll have some other things to talk about as well. But it's a winning Saturday night. It's where we all get together and just chill out and have some fun. Talk about good news stories. We look at cool things. We're going to look at some cool things that are going on and around in this world. Things to look forward to, things to fight for, things to, to hopefully have for yourself one day. And also funny videos. And we'll have quite a few funny videos. We're both putting those together for you now. We're going to have a great time. We always do when we are winning Saturday night together. It's a great time. So I hope you'll be there 9 p.m. Eastern this Saturday night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here this evening. We've had a blast, and I think we've learned something. Always fun. We're a damn good time. That's right. We are the good people, the ones they warned you about. All right. So we'll be here. And if you haven't been to a winning Saturday night before, come on by, hang out with us, man. It's a good time. And we have a lot of fun. But yeah, we're going to I'm going to get on out of here for the evening. I want to thank you guys all once again for being here on Rumble, on YouTube, and for all the rewatchers on Rumble, YouTube, and BitChute over there. Our little secret called BitChute. That's over there now, propagating videos over there after they're done. So yeah, check it out if you ever want to be on BitChute. That's where I'm going to put all the videos that nobody else will let me put up. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you once again. And until next time, everyone stay based, have a great weekend, and keep on winning.
If you've lost faith in humanity, clap your hands. If you've lost faith in humanity, and this is your villain origin story, if you've lost faith in humanity, clap your hands.